Hello there, this is part 1 of my full review of all the Disney live-action Star Wars TV shows. Unfortunately, I had to split it into 2 parts due to the sponsor wanting this video out in early October. In this video, I will be going over Mandalorian Season 1, Mandalorian Season 2, Book of Boba Fett, and Kenobi. Timestamps will of course be provided for when I start reviewing any of those shows. Part 2 most likely won't be out until November. I just got started on scripting my review of Andor. I also highly recommend you check out my review of all the Disney Star Wars movies before you see this video. Anyways, let's continue my review from where I left off. So now that I'm done with all the movies, all I have left is, oh god, the TV shows. Let's start with the first and the best one out of all of them, The Mandalorian. It was kind of like a cowboy TV show, but in space. It didn't really have much to do with the Force, the Jedis, the Sith, or other mystical things in the Star Wars universe. It wasn't about super weapons fighting against the Empire, or anything big like that. It was just about an original character, and the stakes were low and also self-contained. The big heads at Disney Lucasfilm weren't that involved with it, so the writers could actually do what they wanted to do. It also had a Baby Yoda in it, which was one of the best-selling Star Wars products ever. A new original Star Wars character who was flying off the shelves was a first for Mickey. I bet he dived into a pool of his new money, just like Scrooge McDuck. But unfortunately, after everything else Disney made with Star Wars started bombing, they used it to promote other spin-off shows. Then they changed the main character to the Womandalorian, and made the show worse and worse. To be honest, I did enjoy it at first, but the story moved so slowly. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the episodes felt like they followed the plot of a Skyrim side quest. I think this would have worked so much better as a video game, and something tells me it was gonna be one at some point. He's escorting a baby, he gets new pieces of armor, a jetpack, and a few other upgrades, along with a few companions as well. This is a fucking video game story. I can't be the only one who thinks this. The problem with Baby Yoda for me is that he's, well, not aging. He's already 50 years old and still a baby. I think it would have been cool if he was growing throughout the show. And who knows, that might have been the plan at some point. Until Mickey came in and decided to make a few changes to the script.
Oh, this thing is a moneymaker! We need to keep it as a baby forever and ever.
I just wish there was more of a goal that Mando was fighting towards. Something tells me that if Mickey didn't mess with this show, it would have become something amazing. But maybe we only thought it was good because we were comparing it to all the other crap that Disney was making with Star Wars. However, that being said, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have proven plenty of times that they know what they are doing when it comes to making a good Star Wars show. They actually seem like fans of the shows they are working on. And trust me, that's actually surprisingly rare in the film industry. The story takes place a few years after the fall of the Empire. The New Republic is trying to establish itself, and we get to the first problem with this show. It has to fit into the canon of the sequel trilogy. And that's a bad place for any show to fit. That being said, it's a lot easier to tell what's going on in the galaxy this time than in the sequel trilogy. It's clear that there's still remnants of the Empire fighting for what they have left, along with seeing what they can do to turn the tides of battle in their favor. The New Republic seems to be even with them for the most part. But it's clear that neither of them have the power to control the galaxy, which obviously creates power vacuums, along with lawlessness throughout the galaxy. So the show is already doing a better job at world building than Solo or anything else Disney has made with Star Wars. Now, the Mandalorian himself is quite the blank slate of a character. The only things we really know about him is he had a dark past, and he really doesn't want people to see his face, just like a YouTuber. He's a badass, but not a Mary Sue, because 1, he was trained all of his life, and 2, he has good armor and weapons that give him the edge in most fights. Most Jedis are glass cannons. They have a powerful weapon and mystical attacks. But if they don't block an attack, they are just as human as everyone else. But the Mandalorian's Beskar armor can tank a lot of damage, and he can get out of a tight spot with his jetpack. We've followed so many wizards in Star Wars for so long. It's nice to see a knight class as the main character for once. He's also not fighting for the Republic, the Empire, or any side. He's just a bounty hunter looking to make money so he can get the best weapons and armor to make more money. And okay, this had to have been a plot for a video game at some point. Anyways, I think it's about time I talk about episode 1. He catches a blue alien man and freezes him in carbonite. Now some people complained about this because Darth Vader was worried that he might kill Luke, so that's why he tested it on Han Solo. But the thing is, it's been proven to work, and technology has advanced in the Star Wars universe in a logical way. So to me, it's totally plausible that bounty hunters would be using carbonite freezing. Anyways, thanks to collecting his new bounty, he's able to get a new piece of Berserk armor, Beskar armor. Later on, he is offered a job that will pay him a lot of money by Apollo Creed from Rocky. He fights alongside a bounty hunting droid. I believe it's an IG-88B model, or maybe an IG-86. Hello, Editing Jar here. I was wrong, it's an IG-11. By the way, there's IG-11, IG-12, IG-70, IG-86, which is a Sentinel droid. IG-88s are often assassin droids. IG-90, IG-100, which by the way are the ones you know as General Grievous's bodyguards. And of course, let's not forget the IG Lancer droids. The fight scene is cool, and the droid blows himself up so his design won't fall into the wrong hands. Hello, Editing Jar here again. He actually blows himself up in a different scene. Mando just shoots him in the head. Give me a break, I was reviewing a lot of this episode from memory. Mando finds his target, and it's a green 50-year-old baby. Oh my god, it's so cute! Look at that little thing! Also, no, Yoda's race has never been given a name. So that's the pilot episode, and let me tell you, it blew my expectations out of the water and into space! At the time, I thought to myself, this was going to be a good show! And I couldn't wait for the next episode. Not gonna lie, I'm happy I rewatched it for this review. Episode 2 starts with him trying to get the baby back to Creed, but the little shits known as the Jawas have torn his ship apart. He tries to fight against them to get his ship back, but he's not a woman, so he gets his ass kicked. Luckily for Mando, a super helpful alien guy offers to assist him in getting his ship back. He talks with the Jawas, who aren't so happy with Mando vaporizing a few of their friends, and they say they will only give what they stole back if he gets an egg for them. Are you starting to see what I mean by Skyrim side quests when it comes to the plots now? He gets into a mini boss battle with this big alien monster thing. It looks like that one monster from Star Wars Episode 2. I think it's called a Mudhorn. It's another cool fight, nothing amazing, but it's serviceable and good eye candy. However, it would still be better if I was actually allowed to play this video game. He manages to kill it with some help from Baby Yoda. He puts the egg in his inventory, but he can't do anything with it because it's a quest essential item. He gives it to the Jawas, who immediately start eating it. I thought they were gonna wait for it to hatch and sell the baby or something. At long last, he gets the parts of his ship back, repairs it, and flies off into space. Now I will say that Baby Yoda was super expressive throughout this episode. I also love that Mando uses the same rifle that Boba Fett had in the Star Wars Christmas special. However, one problem I had with this episode was when the alien guy said to Mando that his ancestors rode the Mythosaur. No, the Mandalorians killed them all. It was another group that rode them, but that's just me being a Star Wars nerd. Hey guys, just gonna stop the review real quick to say that I've already recorded my entire review for this season, but unfortunately, from this point in the review onwards, all my audio got corrupted, and I had to start over. But I also noticed something new. After listening to some of my more recent videos with high quality headphones, I could hear plain as day that my microphone screen wasn't doing its job properly. So hopefully this new one I put on top of it will block out my breath. Anyways, let's get back to the review. Now I personally think that the first 3 episodes of this show are the best out of all of them. Maybe at one point they were going to be a movie because they tell the most coherent plot together out of any other group of episodes in this show. Or maybe this is just the end of the first area in the game, just before the player unlocks fast travel. Mando gives the baby to creepy Imperial guy and uses the payment to get fully upgraded Beskar armor, just like when you got legendary Daedric armor at a super low level in Skyrim. This must be Mando's second playthrough of the game at least. Now I think it's a good time to say that I really enjoy how the world building is done with the Mandalorians. They live underground, the female blacksmith is cool, and I already know more about their religion than the Sith or Jedi religions. Sure, the comics, the cartoons, and the video games have taught me a lot about the structure of the Sith and Jedi religions, but none of the live-action Star Wars media has delved into a topic like this even close to as much as The Mandalorian has. It's made clear that the Mandalorians are a defeated people who have to hide. Even the Stormtrooper armor being dirty is a nice touch, as it shows that they aren't as powerful as they once were. This is also the most diverse Star Wars has looked in a very long time. It's nice to see the alien races all over the place and doing stuff. The new armor Mando has makes the others a little jelly, but at the end of the day, they are all Ugandan knuckles and say, "This is the way." We get a flashback to Mando's not-so-nice childhood. He enters a bar full of bounty hunters who all hate him because he got the drip and they don't. So he takes his new mission assignment and leaves before the other hunters start challenging him to a Fox-only Final Destination melee match. But Mando feels sad about selling off the baby, which is something that no one in Hollywood has ever felt bad about. He attacks his former employers after they gave him legitimate payment, just like filmmakers do to their fans nowadays. But all the other bounty hunters showed up, and they brought their GameCubes and CRT TVs with them. Mando calls in his party members to help, and they all have something he doesn't have: jetpacks! He shoots Apollo Creed right in the Beskar, and then leaves the planet. But even though he escaped, every bounty hunter will be after him, and if they catch him, they will kill him. But they have to catch him first. Mando is now out of the tutorial area, and has unlocked new planets to go to. I like this because if we stayed on the same planet, things would get boring. They use the planet fans are used to as a jumping off point, like a lot of Disney Star Wars media tends to do. I just wish the movies didn't keep going back to the old stuff. Episode 4 begins with Mando going to the green planet Sorgon of Akkad, which seems like a good place to hide out. He runs into Cara Dune, a big woman played by Gina Carano, a real-life UFC fighter. She's the kind of woman who could take down most men in her weight class. That being said, she's only about 5'8" and weighs about 135 pounds. It's nice to see a woman like this being in a big TV show, even though her acting isn't the best. It's too bad that she was fired over her political opinions. She was slandered and mocked, but she knew how to take a hit and kept up the fight. There's even been rumors of her teaming up with Elon Musk to sue Disney Lucasfilm. Now with that being said, I wanted to give a disclaimer. I don't fully understand or know the story about what she did, but I do know she asked what's the difference between hating on people for their political opinions compared to hating on people for being Jewish. Apparently this was anti-Semitism somehow? I've seen similar and worse tweets from leftists who are still working in Hollywood. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it's not the focus of my video. And let's be honest here, this thing is already long enough as it is. However, all of that being said, I kind of find it funny that old school Star Wars fans finally like a new Star Wars female character, most of which didn't even call her a Mary Sue. And then she just gets booted off the show. I'm sorry, I just find that funny. Apparently, you can mock the fan base all you want, but you better have the correct political opinions. Anyways, her character in the show is an ex-rebel shock trooper who retired and became a mercenary. She gets into a fight with Mando. No, I do not know why she thought it would be a good idea to punch a guy in Beskar armor in the helmet. Anyways, after their fight, he goes to a small village and we start to learn about how the social layers work on this planet. The people of this village don't really know how to fight and they don't have any good technology. They are constantly attacked by dog bandits. No, I don't mean the bandits use dogs, I mean they are dog people. I gotta be honest here, guys. I've never really liked the Clitonian race in Star Wars. They are just so lazily designed. Sure, it's nice to see other races in Star Wars, but could the showrunners at least pick something a little better? There's also a bar-type place in a small city that is removed from the threat of bandits. Anyways, Mando and Cara Dune decide to team up to protect the village. They start scavenging and come across the tracks of an AT-ST. They sneak into the Clitonians' base at night and plant explosives. The bombs go off and the plan seems to be a success, but the AT-ST rises from the smoke like a Dragon Ball character and starts chasing them. Oh great, a mini-boss you have to fight even though you succeeded in the stealth mission. God, I hate those. Now I will say that I like how now that the Empire has fallen, small bandit groups have taken their weapons of war and are using them to push around small villages. It's good world building in my opinion. Mando leads it into a trap which is a pond that the AT-ST will sink into, but it notices the trap and stops just before stepping into it, as if it was dog shit. Hey, come on now, it's being driven by a Clitonian. Those guys probably leave their droppings all over the place. A really cool battle goes down between the bandits and the villagers. Not gonna lie, it really reminded me of the fight between the Powder Gangers and the people of Good Springs from Fallout New Vegas. Thanks to Cara using Mando's rifle and the pond as cover, she gets the AT-ST to fall into the water. Not gonna lie, I thought she was gonna die at a few points. I was biting my nails. When a Disney Star Wars project makes me nervous for the safety of a female character, you know it's good writing. The battle is won and we cut to a few weeks later. I'm happy Mando got a chance to relax. But a bounty hunter manages to find Baby Yoda and tries to kill him. He's of course killed first because there's no way Disney will let anything happen to their little moneymaker. Mando knows that he has to leave because they will keep coming. Cara offers to join Mando's party and he says, "No girls allowed!" Good call there, man. Knowing Disney Star Wars, she would have replaced you as the main character. Now, my biggest problem with this episode is that Mando does a super bad job at looking after the baby. He just lets him wander around dangerous locations, and this is a big problem throughout the show. Bro, you gave up your whole life for this thing. Keep an eye on it every now and then. Episode 5 starts off with a space battle that shows off what Mando's ship can do. Then Mando goes back to Tatooine. Good God! We only got a break from that place for one episode! I'm sick of this planet. It's coarse and rough and it's everywhere in Star Wars. And I'm gonna be honest here, out of every episode in season 1, this is the worst. They just keep making callbacks to past events in Star Wars. Sure, I liked it the first time I watched it, but the second time, yeah, it got pretty annoying. But I will say, Stormtroopers' heads being on spikes is a nice touch. It shows that after the fall of the Empire, the people of this planet rebelled against them and kicked their asses. Personally, I think you can skip this episode for the most part. Sure, the action is good as always, but there's only 2 things that are actually important. It just introduces us to the mechanic and the assassin, both of which are characters who will be showing up a lot in this show and in other shows. The story did have a good plot twist in it, but for the most part this episode felt like filler. Sorry that my review of this episode is pretty short. Episode 6 is like the Solo movie, but better in every way, and it takes place in space. It's an interesting setting to say the least, and it also must have been really expensive to pull off. Also, Bill Burr is in this episode! Okay, that guy has to have said tons of more out-of-pocket shit than Gina Carano for sure. Why did he get the job? I will say I was taken back by this, but it's cool to see him in a Star Wars show. Maybe we'll see Joe Rogan in the next episode. So Mando, because he needs money, is going to go on a heist mission with Bill Burr, a Deveronian, which is a super strong race in Star Wars, a Twi'lek, and a droid. Not gonna lie, I love the diversity I'm seeing in this team. They break into a space prison and fight off some security droids. I'm gonna be 100% honest here. I think this episode has the best action scenes out of anything in this show. Just look at this, it's so badass. I like that Mando for once is fighting against the New Republic, showing that he's not fighting for the good team, but for money. The part where the crew backstabs Mando was handled well. How Mando gets out of his cell seems realistic. The fight between Mando and the Devilronian really shows off the different powers some aliens in the Star Wars universe have. It's not always about the Force or technology. The Devilronian is not only super strong but also fireproof. We've seen aliens jump super high, fly, and even shapeshift. So it's nice to see alien powers getting a little bit of acknowledgement. The episode ends with Mando backstabbing those who backstabbed him, and it's done in a funny way that doesn't rely on Marvel humor. The best part of this episode for me is how Mando is hunting down the other aliens throughout the ship like he's a xenomorph from Alien. But instead, he's a human hunting down mostly aliens, and I thought that was a good twist. But now we are done with all the filler and are back to the main quest line. Episode 7 starts with Creed calling Mando on Discord, telling him that everything that happened between them was just a prank, bro. So Mando starts heading to the city where it all started, which is now under Imperial rule. But he stops along the way to tell Cara Dune that she can now join his party. Also, I'm not gonna lie, her fighting a Zabrakian in a UFC match is just so cool. Also, yes, Zabrakian is Darth Maul's race. He picks up Quill, the guy who helped him get his ship parts back in episode 2, to also join the party. I don't see how he can help in a fight all that much, but every man on the battlefield counts. Even IG-11 joins the party. Apparently, he was rebuilt and reprogrammed. This is a common trope in finales. Everyone the main character has met throughout his travels joins him for the big final showdown. Baby Yoda force chokes Gina. Looks like he didn't agree with the thing she was posting on Twitter. Everyone meets up with Apollo Creed to go over the plan, and they are attacked by pterodactyls or something. During the attack, Apollo gets hurt real bad, and it looks like his boxing days are behind him. But then the green baby kisses his boo-boo better. Apparently, Creed was going to backstab them, but after he realized how much merchandise could be made off of Baby Yoda, he also joins Mando's party. I always love it when the first boss becomes a party member. Just like in Witcher Blood Origins, Mando pretends to be captured as they walk into the city. But unlike that show, their plan actually makes sense. Gus from Breaking Bad shows up with some stormtroopers, scout troopers, and even death troopers. Looks like he needs that baby to make more of the blue stuff. Scout troopers kill Quinn and get the baby. Oh no! The all is lost moment! Okay, I'm gonna say something super controversial. I would have actually preferred it if the season ended right here. Not only would it have given writers plenty of time to come up with a follow-up to this episode, but it would have also made the audience tune into the next season. And I'm speaking from experience here. I thought Disney Plus released entire seasons for shows all at once, just like Netflix. So when I finally got my Disney Plus subscription and checked out this show, I thought it was the season finale. Of course, I was later informed that this was not the season finale, and 4 months later I finally saw episode 8. And out of every episode in season 1, I would say it has the most contrived plot convenience out of all of them. Basically, Los Pollos Hermanos decides to give Mando and his team time to escape. He has them all surrounded and he says, I'll just wait here with my army that could immediately crush you, so you can think about surrendering to me. Does 24 hours work for you guys? Cause it works for me. Now, obviously, yes, he didn't know about the sewer entrance they had access to in that building. But even then, despite how good this show was up to this point, it's just another example of something super convenient happening for the plot to move forward. But at least it only happened once and not 50 times like in Rise of Skywalker. IG-11 saves the baby, yay! And we find out Mando's real name is Din Djarin. Oh my god! He has my name in the middle of his last name! They knew I was going to review this the whole time! We learn even more about Mando's backstory and why he's so racist against droids. IG-11 comes in to save the day, shooting guns while using a baby as a bulletproof vest. The final battle is, well, it's really cool. Just look at the screen and you can see what I mean. And we get to see the new Flame Trooper. Nice! Mando gets super hurt, and we finally at long last get to see his face. Now that right there is something you save for the finale. IG-11 manages to save him by spraying vape into his face. They run into the Mandalorian blacksmith, and she gives Mando a new item. It's a jetpack, which unfortunately will make replays of the game less fun because it's something the player will wish they had from the start of the game. The blacksmith says it's hammer time and goes Thor on some stormtroopers. Mando decides to be less racist against droids and tells IG-11 that he's one of the good ones. IG-11 is so crushed by this microaggression that he walks through lava, then blows himself up again. Mando uses his jetpack to fly up to Gus's ship, plant a grenade, and blow it up. I think planting a bomb on a paralyzed guy's chair would have also worked. Anyways, it's revealed that Gus isn't dead because he used the money from selling the blue stuff to buy the Darksaber. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Darksaber is, it used to belong to the leader of Mandalore, who was both Mandalorian and Jedi. It's passed hands multiple times, so it's a mystery as to how Gus got it. After the battle is over, Mando leaves the planet to find the Jedi, and that's where our season ends. So what do I think of the first season of The Mandalorian? Honestly, it did have a lot of problems. Not only the ones I've gone over in this review, but there are tons of slow moments and characters just dumping exposition onto the viewer. I also don't like how Mando has never heard of the Force, the Jedi, or any of that stuff. Like, weren't they involved in a war that spanned across the entire galaxy? Now granted, this is not only a problem with this show. In both Baki and Hunter x Hunter, despite people with fantastical abilities being broadcasted on TV throughout the world, most people seem to have no clue that they even exist. Would I call it a bad show? No. I would also not call it a great show, but it is a good show that is for sure above average. It plays it safe, doesn't really do anything groundbreaking, but it is enjoyable. The kind of show I wish I had as a kid. I give it a 7 out of 10. But will season 2 be even better, or will it be trash? Well, there's only one way to find out. Now, I want to get this review out in a timely manner, so I'm not going to review it episode by episode or go into as much detail as I did for season 1. And to be honest, this seems to be the least talked about out of all 3 seasons. And I know a lot of you want me to get to the dumpster fire that is season 3, but I'm still going to review season 2 in chronological order. Beskar armor is really built up as being super valuable in episode 1, which is good because season 1 showed off how strong it is, but not how crazy valuable it is. Someone who doesn't know any better might have thought that Mando was just taking on run-of-the-mill cheap bounties. A mob boss lures him into a trap, and a bunch of his men point guns at Mando, but he's a cheap player who uses VATS to take them all out. He lets the mob boss live, but leaves him hanging. Mando interrogates him about where more Beskar armor might be. He meets up with the mechanic lady, and oh my god, is that R5 from Star Wars A New Hope? The same droid that Luke didn't take because it had a bad motivator causing it to have depression? Indeed it is. I remember that. Believe it or not, this character somehow got his own comic despite only having about a minute of screen time. Wow, it's almost like Star Wars is the second biggest IP or something. Disney really wasted it. Mando goes to a small mining town that used to be under the control of the Mining Collective gang after the fall of the Empire. But Kyle Broflovsky bought Boba Fett's armor off of some Jawas and used it to defeat them. I enjoy it when a side character has their own badass story that explains why they are in a similar ballpark of power to the main character. It makes the universe feel lived in. Mando and Kyle almost fight, but then a crate dragon shows up. You know, I have made a lot of Skyrim jokes when it comes to the story of this show, but now it's really getting ridiculous. They pod race towards the dragon's lair, but Mando thinks that he's a little underleveled to fight a dragon, so they go and see some Tusken Raiders. Mando reveals that he can speak dog, and the Tusken Raiders seem to be on board with slaying the dragon. Not gonna lie, I like seeing them betrayed in a positive light for once. They might be savages, but they can't all be bad, and I'm not just talking about the men, but the women and children as well. The fight with the dragon is basically a giant Jaws reference. I'm not joking, you can look this up. Mando gets a new set of Beskar armor as payment, but it has lower stats than the one he has on, so he leaves it in his inventory. He rides off into the double sunset. I'm a little shocked that this hasn't been done in Star Wars until now. And we see Boba Fett in the distance, watching menacingly. Mando fails a quick time event, causing his speeder bike to crash, and a bunch of guys jump him. He tricks one of them into stealing his jetpack, and then Mando remotely makes it rocket the thief into the air. Okay, it's Marvel humor, but it's at least used sparingly. Speaking of Marvel, Mando runs into the mechanic lady, who introduces him to Ant-Man, and he has information about where Mandalorians might be, but Mando will have to do, an escort mission to get it. Oh god, I hate those. Oh, and it has a time limit too. Lovely. Normally I'm not happy that I'm not playing this game, but for once, I'm glad I'm not. Mando can't use fast travel for this mission as well. A few cops try to pull Mando over because they can't tell if he's black or not underneath that helmet. He crashes onto an ice planet and okay, so this lizard lady's eggs can't survive going through hyperspace, but they can survive all of this apparently. Baby Yoda eats one of the eggs. I have to say, when I started watching this show, I didn't think I would see a baby eating a baby. A bunch of alien spiders show up. I hate spiders. Why couldn't they have been alien butterflies or something? It seems like Mando might die, but then the cops show up because they learned that Mando isn't actually black. Mando manages to take the lizard woman to her destination, a water planet. Oh, she's a salamander. No wonder why her race is going extinct. She reunites with her husband Kermit the Frog, and they tell Mando where he can find other Mandalorians. He takes a ride on a boat. I remember a lot of people complaining about this when they saw it in the trailer. He has a ship, they yelled. Why is he on a boat? Now I do get where those people are coming from, but spaceships are expensive even in the Star Wars universe. It's also clearly a fishing boat. Spaceships make a lot of sound. They aren't the best things to use for fishing. The ship crew is made up of Quarrens. Now just because they look like the gay love child of Davy Jones and Cthulhu doesn't mean that they are evil. To me, they seem trustworthy and oh my god, they just push Baby Yoda into that monster's mouth. Mando jumps in to save him, but it was all a trap set up by the Quarrens to get the armor. Mando is basically walking around in pure gold armor. This really shows just how powerful the average Mandalorian is. Any of them who are still alive have survived multiple attempts on their life from people who want their armor. Luckily for Mando, a group of Mandalorians show up and save him. Now this is not fully plot convenience because they heard someone in Beskar armor was looking for them. However, them showing up at the perfect time is 100% plot convenience. So it is a convenient thing that happened for the plot to move forward, but not a super convenient thing for the plot to move forward. Unfortunately for Mando, the Mandalorians who saved him do not fully agree with his dogma. Also, one of them is Bo-Katan from the cartoon. Fans flipped out from seeing her in live action for the first time. I was also happy to see her, and I'm glad her character is in the show, as long as she doesn't take over as the main character or something. Man, that would be stupid. Mando tells them that they do not know the way, and leaves. But then he comes back because he cannot continue the main quest line without them. They raid a stormtrooper base to get weapons for their Mandalorian army. Bo-Katan questions one of the officers as to where the big black lightsaber is. After the mission is over, Bo-Katan tells Mando where he can find Jedi Master Ahsoka, and if he is willing to join the DK crew. He tells her, I don't know, maybe, and pieces out. Instead of going straight to Ahsoka's location, Mando decides that he hasn't done a side quest in a while, and heads back to the sand planet. Okay, to be fair, his ship is falling apart and it needs to be repaired. Kara meets up with Mando and she's like,
Yo, wanna fill an Empire base up with lava?
and he's like, that's so hot, I mean, sure. Something tells me that if she wasn't booted off the show, they would have become a thing. But it's not just a base, it's a lab full of failed Snoke clones. Apparently, they are planning to use Baby Yoda to make Snoke. Mando realizes more now than ever that he must keep the baby safe so the sequel trilogies don't happen. A lot of action happens in this episode, like, a lot. But not that much plot. The effects are cool though. Mando goes to another planet which looks pretty badass, and he is hired to kill Ahsoka for the price of a Beskar staff. Because he still doesn't have a melee weapon and the Darksaber won't be unlocked until much later on in the game, he takes the job. But then he finds out that Ahsoka is a woman in a Star Wars show, so he shits his pants and begs her to train the baby. Also, we find out that Baby Yoda's real name is, Grogu. Yes, you heard that right, Grogu. Disney's Star Wars best-selling merchandise name is Grogu. I do not know what Mickey was thinking, but I also don't know what he's thinking most of the time, so this tracks. Unfortunately, Ahsoka doesn't like babies, but she tells Mando where he can find other Jedis if he helps her liberate the town. Okay, Mickey, here's a tip. Just make this into a video game already. They save the town, Mando gets a melee weapon. This would be the second time Mando has attacked his former employer. And Ahsoka does a dick move by telling him he might find other Jedis, but as far as she knows, they are all dead, so he most likely won't find any. Wow, seems a little out of character for her. I don't understand Disney's obsession with ruining every single female Star Wars character. Also, Mando is shockingly okay with this for some reason. Mando goes to a new planet and... wait, is that the Slave One? Oh my god, it's Boba Fett! Fun fact, did you know that more people have played Boba Fett than any other Star Wars character? And all of his lines from the original trilogy can easily fit into one tweet. Baby Yoda, no, I'm not calling him Grogu, starts tripping out. Boba Fett seems to have, let himself go a little. Also, he has the assassin girl with him, who now is a cyborg with literal guts of steel. Boba Fett wants his armor back, and Mando tells him he can have it if they play Protect the Baby. I won't lie, Boba Fett showing up when he did to help Mando fight off some stormtroopers is plot convenience. But at least it only has been used once this season. Mando's ship gets blown up because he left the gas on. Not gonna lie, it came as a shock to me when the Empire just blasted it out of nowhere. We've seen the ship with Mando from the start, and 2 episodes ago he got it repaired, so it's clearly important to him. An effective way to have the shock of a character's death without killing a character is to have the main character's ship or home be destroyed. Oh no, my ship, I only had 2 payments left. Not only did Mando lose his ship, but the baby also gets taken by some awesome looking 3rd generation Dark Troopers. I really like that the Empire sometimes uses droids, but only super expensive powerful ones. Mando tells Boba Fett to give him the armor back because it doesn't belong to him, but he's like, nuh-uh, my dad put our last names on it, see? Alright, but can you help me get the baby back? Why should I? They are going to use him to make the Star Wars sequel trilogy happen. Wait, what? Why didn't you start with that? What are we doing standing around here? We gotta go now! Mando starts building a team. He brings on Boba Fett, Cara Dune, and Bill Burr. Cara, we need to get Bill Burr. Where is he? Why? Because we can use him to make the stormtroopers laugh themselves to death. Well, last I checked, he's locked up. You'll have to do another side quest to get him in your party. Oh, come on. Meanwhile, Baby Yoda is showing off how cool he is to the stormtroopers. You guys can't do anything to me. I'm Disney's most merchandised character of all time. Gus comes in and shows off the dark lightsaber. Are you sure about that? This thing will outsell you in no time. Mando and Cara take Bill Burr out of prison so that they can use him to hack into an Imperial computer in order to find the location of Moff Gideon. Mando, for once, has non-Mandalorian armor. They get attacked by pirates along the way. I think some guy says to Bill Burr that celebrities who make offensive jokes should be cancelled shield and he shoots the guy. They get the info they need and Boba Fett saves them. Also, the Slave One uses the seismic charge and it's just as awesome as always. Bill Burr blows up the Imperial base with a well-placed shot from his sniper rifle. And he also gets his freedom. Nice. You may have noticed I've been going through things rather quickly. Well, that's because I don't really have much to say. Sure, there's a lot of callbacks to other Star Wars stuff and other things that are really cool, but it's all just so fillery and kind of slow at times. And I'm starting to run out of video game jokes. Mando, Bo-Katan, and Cara all attack Moff Gideon's ship. The third generation Dark Troopers are really powerful. Mando has to use everything he has just to take one down. And there's a lot more of them. Luckily, they are right next to an airlock and... Wait, really? This is just another super convenient thing for the plot to move forward. Whoa, wait. They can fly. Never mind, forget what I said. We get our first live-action lightsaber duel with non-Force users ever in Star Wars. Wait a second there, Jar. What about that time Finn fought that one stormtrooper? Finn can use the Force so it doesn't count. Mando defeats Moff Gideon and gets the Darksaber. Okay, well that seems to be the end of the season. I thought the duel was pretty cool, but I was hoping for something a little bigger for the finale. Oh wait, the Dark Troopers are back. Now that Mando has the Darksaber, he might stand a better chance against them. But this doesn't look like it's going to be a good final fight. I wish there was something a little more... Oh my god! Is that who I think it is? It is! It's Luke Skywalker! To the people who are just listening to this video as background sound, stop what you're doing and look at the screen. Do it now, Steve. Oh, did you see that? Yo, he just crushed that guy. He cut that guy into two. Oh, that's so cool. Now, is it plot convenience that he showed up at the perfect time? Yes. Is it one of the biggest nostalgia callbacks ever? Yes. Is the CGI on Luke not really that good? Yes. But who cares? I've been waiting my whole life to see Luke do something cool on the big screen again. Now, all of that being said, I think they should have waited until the season 3 finale before they did this. By the way, when this episode came out, Disney Plus crashed because too many people went to go see this episode all at the same time. It's almost like the old school fans outnumber the new fans a few times over or something. Luke Skywalker takes Baby Yoda with him, but just before he does, Mando shows him his face. Oh, this is just so perfect of an ending. Mickey, I have to be honest, you are doing a great job. I was starting to fall out of love with Star Wars, but I think you've rekindled it. You played it safe with The Mandalorian to see what worked and what didn't work. And now you have lined up the perfect spin-off show about Luke traveling with Baby Yoda. Those two together are going to be a cash cow and... No! Wait, what?
I want to do a Boba Fett spin-off, and have Mando get the baby back.
But why? That will reverse all the good faith you just built up with the fans.
I know that, Jar, but it's what I do best.
So as I was working on my review of every single Disney live-action Star Wars TV show, I thought to myself, how would I go about this? Would I review the 3 seasons of The Mandalorian in a row and then talk about Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan? Or would it be better if I talked about these seasons and shows in the order of when they came out? And then I realized, oh wait, you kind of have to see Book of Boba Fett to understand what's going on in The Mandalorian Season 3. Many people even call Book of Boba Fett Mandalorian Season 2.5. So if I'm going to talk about Book of Boba Fett before Mandalorian Season 3, I guess I should also talk about Kenobi before I go over Mandalorian Season 3. I will say, so far I've been enjoying the live-action TV shows that Disney has done with Star Wars. It was a very nice break from all the bad stuff, but unfortunately we're done with everything good. And now, it's all downhill from here. Now I'll give Book of Boba Fett credit for one thing. It did correct the one big problem I had with The Mandalorian. Throughout the entire show, it feels like Boba Fett is fighting towards an actual goal. Every episode doesn't feel like it's a Monster of the Week filler episode. I can't compare every episode to a random Skyrim side quest. It feels more like a group of Skyrim side quests that you do for a specific guild. However, it does everything else worse. The story is worse, the acting is worse, the action is worse. I made comments before about The Mandalorian and Geralt feeling like like side characters in their own story, but this takes it to a whole nother level. It feels like every single character is moving the plot along and Boba Fett is just there as star power. I think they really wanted to make the story about the assassin girl, but then they realized, oh wait, no one cares about her character, so let's just stick Boba Fett in there. I'm by no means the first person to point this out, but it really feels like they just took a bunch of unused episodes from The Mandalorian and made this show. So you know how in The Mandalorian we went to a whole bunch of different planets? Well, this one entirely takes place on Tatooine, the planet covered in stuff that is coarse and rough and gets everywhere. This show is so incredibly repetitive, telling you information you have already seen over and over again. We constantly see Boba Fett in his healing tank. We're told about how Jabba the Hutt used to run this territory, and then Bible Fortuna did. Over and over again. No one even cares about Bib Fortuna. Why are you guys talking about him so much? He had like one brief scene, then got shot. And just like in the movie Man of Steel, there's flashback after flashback. But I will say this about the flashbacks, they're unironically the best part of the show to me. So I'm just gonna go over it all at once before we get to the bad stuff. Throughout the Mandalorian show, we've seen just how strong Beskar armor is. So of course, Boba Fett is easily able to get out of the Sarlacc. But the Jawas, always being the little they are, beat the crap out of him and take his armor. Well, now we know how the Jawas got it. Not an interesting story, but it makes sense. He's then enslaved by a group of Tusken Raiders, and we learn more about their culture than we ever have before. They're basically tribalistic techno-barbarians. They enslave other races to dig for small black lemons in the desert. When a slave proves themselves to be valuable to the tribe, they're initiated in after doing a ceremony which involves this crazy trip, man. We see how their melee weapons are built and how incredibly important they are to them. We've seen the atrocities they do to other races before, but this time, we see the atrocities that are done to them. Fett tried to escape, but he failed. As he was digging for black melons with an Aronian slave, a monster attacks them, and it kills the Ronian. Fett realizes when life gives you black melons, you make melonade. He kills the monster, saving the Tusken child in the process. He gains the respect of the tribe, and they teach him the ways of the Tusken. They show him their style of combat and how to survive in the desert. But then the tribe is attacked by a Pike Syndicate spice train. Boba Fett steals some speeder bikes from a Nikto gang and teaches the Tuskens how to ride them. Boba Fett and the Tuskens using the speeders are able to successfully take down the spice train, and the Pikes are told that they have to pay a toll in order to come through the Tuskens' territory. A ceremony is held where this lizard thing goes up Fett's nose. He goes on a crazy trip which leads him to this tree. He takes off a branch, brings it back, and makes it into a daffy stick. He is now officially a member of their tribe, and he has something he hasn't had in a very long time, a family. But one day, as he was collecting the toll from the Pikes, he returns home, only to find that the Nikto gang have completely wiped out his newfound family. And they didn't just kill the men, but the women and children as well. Now, if you just showed me this all in a row as one episode, I would say this looks like it's going to be a pretty good show. But it's not told like that. It's shown to us in bits and pieces through flashbacks across the first 3 episodes. Every time they were done with a flashback and got to the main story, all I could think was, oh man, can we go back to that good stuff? I'm also starting to see why Boba Fett is not really that much of a main character in his own show. He's played by the original actor who played Jango Fett, which does make sense, after all he is an exact clone of him. Or maybe he isn't an exact clone, his aging seems to have been sped up. He's supposed to be 40-something and he looks 60-something. Why didn't they de-age him with CGI? Just because the actor is bald now doesn't mean he has eternal youth like Patrick Stewart. But the bigger problem is the actor just isn't good. I don't really know if the actor was given bad direction or something, but he's not really menacing when he's supposed to be menacing, and he's not really warm and comforting when he's supposed to be. He's just kind of one note. Now, I know this might be a really out there opinion, but I don't think he should be the main character. Instead, he should be something more like the top henchman. You know, like the thing he was originally casted to be. In fact, they basically turned the assassin lady Fennec into the new Boba Fett. Throughout the entire show, Boba Fett just keeps getting his ass kicked, and I'm gonna say something that is gonna piss off a lot of people watching this video, but I gotta be honest here, guys. Boba Fett was never badass. Just like how Harry Potter fans Mandelaed themselves into believing that Malfoy was a Vegeta-Sasuke type rival character, Star Wars fans Mandelaed themselves into believing that Boba Fett was this badass bounty hunter who always got the job done, when in reality they're both a lot more pathetic than people remember. Sure, I guess he was cool in the first movie he appeared in, he kind of just shot at Luke from a distance and that's about it. But in Return of the Jedi he got taken out by a blind man by complete accident. In Clone Wars he lost over and over again. In Season 2 of The Mandalorian and in the comics and video games he does a lot of cool stuff. But there's really not a whole lot to his character aside from revenge. So why do people even like this character so much? Well, he has a cool design. A design which a lot of Mandalorians share. I hate to say it, but Boba Fett is one of the worst Star Wars characters to be given their own show. He works well enough as a side character, which he was meant to be, and that's how he should have stayed. When Boba Fett saves the assassin girl Fennec, they work together to get his armor back from the Sarlacc. And when he kills it, he's shocked to find it's not there. Dude, you crawled out of it with your armor on? Why would you think it was still in there? You know the Jawas have it. What the hell are you doing? Fennec is not only a muscle, but the brains of the team as well. Boba Fett, now that you're in charge, you shouldn't let people walk all over you.
Oh, come on, I want to be nice about this. Oh, never mind, it backfired. You're right, I shouldn't have questioned you.
Hey, Boba Fett, you should probably give some money to those mercenaries.
Why would I do that?
Cause you can use money to hire mercenaries.
Whoa, I had no idea.
Yep, it's another one of those shows that was supposed to be about a female character, and the male character is only there for star power, so people would actually watch the show. Oh, by the way, the age gap between these two actors is only 2 years. Yeah, kids, don't do death sticks. Anyways, they take over Jabba's palace, they get 2 pig goblins to work for them, a few powerful people pay them tribute, and then a bunch of assassins try to kill Boba Fett. Hey everyone, as I was recording this big video, some of my editors have informed me that I talk either way too loudly or my microphone is turned up way too high. So I'm not going to be talking as loudly for the rest of this video. If the way I'm talking right now is a little too quiet for you, then I guess turn me up. You guys are smart, you'll figure it out. Anyways, let's get back to reviewing the Book of Boba Fett. So unlike the Mandalorian, who gets new weapons, armor, and other cool gadgets, Boba Fett gets people, monsters, and vehicles to add to his arsenal. When you think about everything Mando had at the end of season 2, it seems like all of this stuff is what he would have gotten next. But instead of a criminal empire, I think he would have been rebuilding the Mandalorian clan. Now, one thing I did kind of find to be funny was when Bubba dropped one of the assassins who tried to kill him into the Rancor pit. And of course, the guy started freaking out, but there was no Rancor because Luke already killed it. The assassin tells them he was hired by the mayor. Boba Fett, of course, goes to see him, and we meet hands down the best character in the show, the mayor's sassy assistant. Boba Fett tells the mayor,
I'm here to kill you.
please don't.
Okay.
2 Hutts show up and they say,
Tatooine belongs to us. Jabba said so in his will.
But I want to keep it.
We have a Wookiee.
So?
A black one.
Oh,
yes, everyone, it's the Black Wookiee from the comics. And yes, I know he has a name, but let's be honest here. We all just call him the Black Wookiee. Boba Fett is asked to take out some cyborg bikers who have been stealing water. And wow, those guys don't look like they fit in this show at all. They look like dollar store cyberpunk edgerunner characters. Why are they so poor that they need to steal water but somehow can afford nice clothes, motorcycles, and mechanical enhancements? Sure, you can say they stole the motorcycles, but they still need to pay for gas, and those mechanical enhancements couldn't have been cheap. Oh my god, I just realized they're millennials. They can afford all of this nice stuff, but can't afford to move out of their parents' basement.
you guys want to join my team?
Sure, I guess.
Yay.
The Black Wookiee tries to kill Boba Fett in the middle of his bath. Man, he's literally mopping the floor with him. Boba Fett may be washed up, but it's the Black Wookiee who ends up getting all wet.
Yo, you want to join my team? Yay.
Well, you defeated our one and only assassin we had to throw at you. Anyways, we're done here now. Here's a pet Rancor that our apartment complex wouldn't let us keep.
Yay. I'm gonna name him Fluffles and he will be mine, and he shall be my Fluffles.
Fett goes with his posse to confront the mayor, and we get a really slow chase scene, where the cyborgs ride after the mayor's assistant. It's so poorly done, and the bikers really clash with everything in the background. They feel like they're from another show, and this chase doesn't really make them look competent at all. I think it would have been better if this whole scene was just cut out of the show. Turns out that the mayor is working with the Pikes, the same group that took out Fett's Sand People family, then blamed it on another group so Boba Fett would take out their competition. Aside from this, the Pikes will not be fleshed out at all. Yep, as important as the Pikes are to the plot, we really know basically nothing about them. They are just an evil alien group, and that's about it. Fett has a meeting with the other crime families and tells them,
Hey, can you guys join me in a fight against the Pikes?
That sounds like a you problem.
But I have a pet Rancor.
Okay, we won't join you, but we'll stay out of the war.
Okay, I've gotten lucky up to this point with people just joining me out of nowhere, so I'm cool with you guys not joining my team.
Then we see Fett take out a few... Wait a second. I think I accidentally put on the Mandalorian by mistake. Oh no, wait, this is still the Book of Boba Fett. It just has random episodes of the Mandalorian in it for some reason. Mando kills a few guys, then meets up with 2 Mandalorians from his tribe in a space station. Mando's like, I have the Darksaber.
No, I want it.
Too bad, you can't have it. By the way, I showed my face when I was saying goodbye to the baby. I hope that's not a problem. Oh. He turns the Beskar staff into Baby Yoda armor, but he needs a new ship because his old one got blown up. He sees the mechanic lady and she gives him a Naboo starfighter, also known as an N1, that has been modified with space nitro. He stops by the new Jedi temple to drop off his gift. Then he kind of just meets up with Boba Fett's crew. One thing I find funny is that by putting 2 episodes of The Mandalorian in the middle of this show, it proves just how much better of a character Mando is compared to Boba Fett. I care more about the things he has done in the 2 episodes they have shown us, compared to what the rest of the season has done for Boba Fett. Just him repairing a ship is more engaging than everything we've seen Bubba do. Oh, also the guy who found Fett's armor gets killed by Cad Bane from the cartoon. Luke tells Baby Yoda to pick between the Mandalorian pill and the Jedi pill. Grogu, if you pick the Jedi pill, the fans will get new original shows that will take the series in a completely different direction. Or you can take the Mandalorian pill that will make things more stagnant, and the fans will get more and more bored of the shows Disney makes with the Star Wars IP.
I'll take the Mandalorian pill.
God damn it. The big climactic battle starts, and honestly, I feel nothing. I don't care about any of these characters. Did Michael Bay direct this or something? I love that Fennec is explaining the plan as Fett is literally doing nothing in the background. Apparently, there was a cut Clone Wars episode where Boba Fett and Cad Bane were going to have a standoff. I would have liked to see that much more than this. You see, in that show, Boba Fett and Cad Bane had history with one another, and they both were well fleshed out characters. If you haven't seen the cartoon, you're going to be asking yourself, who the f is this Blue Man crew member? This show is chock full of flashbacks, and this dude didn't show up until episode 7. We're told that they have a history with one another, but we're not shown it. I wish the show was focused on both of them, so we could have had build up to this confrontation. Also, did you know that Cad Bane is the same race as those Trade Federation guys? I do like the idea of Bubba being the one to take Bane down, because Cad Bane has killed hundreds of clones, but he ends up being taken out by the best clone of all. It's funny that General Grievous and Cad Bane were fleshed out so much in animation, but taken out super fast in live action. Fennec is the one who takes out the Pikes, robbing Boba Fett of his revenge. I will say, it's pretty cool to see the Super Droidekas in live action for the first time, and on top of that, seeing them face off against the Rancor, wow, that's so badass. The other crime families who promised to stay out of the fight changed their minds because the Pikes gave them spice or something, but the people from Freetown show up to help Bubba in his fight. Boba Fett kills Cad Bane and yeah, that's kind of where it ends. Oh, I almost forgot, apparently the Marshal survived getting shot by Bane and is going to be turned into a cyborg. Wow, that might have meant something if it was a character we actually cared about. So what do I think of this show after rewatching it for the second time? Well, I now know that the biggest problem with this show is the supporting cast. Even Solo in the Star Wars sequel trilogy did a better job at this. Boba Fett is bland and so is everyone else around him. I know almost nothing about anyone. I wish the characters would just talk about what was on their mind every now and then. They only ever talk about the plot or things we've already seen. I don't even know what the mayor's motivation is. Was he in it for the money? Was he scared of the Pikes? I don't know. Boba Fett was a ruthless bounty hunter, and then out of nowhere he decided to 100% change his personality. Why? Because he hung out with a few Tuskens, I guess. One thing that really killed the ending battle for me was how slow it was. In fact, come to think of it, the action was also slow in episode 1 and in episode 3 as well. I decided to look into this and it turns out they were all directed by Robert Rodriguez, the guy who made the Spy Kid movies and others. This guy is super hit or miss with the shows and movies he directs. Apparently he directed the Mandalorian episode that that introduced Boba Fett. So would Disney have given the show to anyone who directed that episode? I even think that was one of the worst ones of season 2. Sure, there's some cool stuff in this show, but about twice as many problems. It's a bad show, but it's not that bad of a show. I give it a 3.8 out of 10. To me, it's not as bad as most people say it is, but it is a really, really bland show. But now we are moving on to the first really bad show, Obi-Wan Can Blow Me.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Ow! My fragile human back. I would replace my spine with a San Devistan, but I don't have the money to afford one. Just so you know, I'm going off the script Jar gave me.
Don't worry, Professor Dreadlock. I have the perfect product for your fragile human back that won't require you to perform any shady surgeries in a dark alley. And just so you know, it's not just a desk we've got for you. It's even better, a standing desk.
Oh god, I'm cool, man!
Forget about all of those lazy desks that just lay down or sit around all day. This one stands, and you can stand with it. But in all seriousness, sitting down all day is one of the most unhealthy things you can do. And we all do it for long periods of the day, and our postures suffer because of it. You can use this standing desk at home, in the workplace, or bring it with you on that date with that special someone in your life. The desk is easy to operate and is much more durable and stable than previous ones I've purchased. Look at all the stuff it can hold.
Oh wow, I really like a man whose desk stands up for him. And that's why I want to stand beside you.
With its bamboo top and environmentally friendly materials, it's a lot better than the last desk I got. Also, the setup was comically easy and straightforward. Like, most of the setup footage can fit in a 60-second ad. Now, to be serious for a moment, I've been sponsored by a lot of different products, but the old standing desk I had really helped me in my life, and this one is even bigger and better than it. So when it comes to FlexiSpot.com, it gets the Just a Robot seal of approval. What else can I say? It's a desk that stands up. It's pretty self-explanatory.
It can even rise to chest height for many people, so it will sit above all the bags of money you saved by buying it.
So go get a standing desk now. I already use one myself, and soon I'll be getting one for Professor Dreadlock as well, so his fragile human back will stop hurting him. So what are you waiting for? Check out FlexiSpot on Amazon. Click the link in the description or in the pinned comment.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Now, Obi-Wan might just be one of the top 5 most well-known Star Wars characters of all time. He isn't like Mando or Boba Fett. His character has been very well developed throughout several decades. Also, the most well-known Star Wars character of all time, Darth Vader, was also going to be in this show. If Disney screws this up, they will lose any goodwill they built up from Star Wars fans who came back because of Mandalorian.
Oh, I've ruined all the mainstream Star Wars characters, except for Obi and Darth. I think it's time to change that.
Because of this show, I and many others skipped Andor, which I heard was actually good. And on top of that, Mandalorian Season 3 didn't do so hot. This proves that a lot of people have lost any trust they had in Disney Star Wars, and it's suffering because of it. But I do know that this show does have its fans, just like Last Jedi does. Granted, there does seem to be less and less of them every day, but I still will go over what I like about this show when we come to them. Now, I originally wrote in my script that Kenobi was worse than Book of Boba Fett, but better than the Star Wars sequel trilogy for whatever that's worth. But then I remembered I didn't fully finish it yet, and after I finished the full show, I realized it was just as bad as Last Jedi. Now, one thing Disney Star Wars almost always gets right is getting the original actors to reprise their roles. Sure, the original Obi-Wan actor is long dead, but the one from the prequel movies is still up and kicking. Now that he's older, he's perfect for the part, and I think he's a decent actor, all things considered. So what's the story? Well, Obi-Wan goes on an adventure with Princess Leia. Wait, what? Yes, you heard me right. Not Luke. Leia. It didn't take me long to realize this show wasn't going going to be to my liking. First of all, this kind of creates a continuity problem with the original trilogy, but I'll get to that later on. Not having Obi-Wan do stuff with Luke Skywalker when he was a kid was a big missed opportunity. We've seen Luke as a young adult and as an old man, but we never seen him as a kid before. There's also this Lady Darth Vader, a Lady Vader if you will, who shows up pretty early on in the show. Yes, it's yet another Lucasfilm IP that is using a male character as star power to get people to watch it, but then it's all about the new female OC. Alright, let's go over this show episode by episode. At least there's only 6, so hopefully this will not be too painful. You can do it, Char. After this, you can watch Andor, and everybody says it's amazing. Episode 1 starts by showing us the ending battle of episode 3, and it makes you realize just how much more you would rather be watching the prequels that you used to shit all over than this shit. We then see Jedi younglings training on the night of Order 66. 2 clone troopers burst through the doors, and the female instructor misses one of them with her lightsaber, but somehow it kills him. After she kills the 2 clones, she runs out with the kids, and we see a male Jedi in the background also fighting 2 clones, but he has a PP, so he's of course killed by the same number of clones that she just took out. Now, I know this may seem like a nitpick, but it sets a precedent for the rest of this show. Granted, she was a Master Jedi, and he presumably wasn't, but she does go on to take out even bigger groups of clone troopers. Now it's time to go over something I actually like about this show. The clones and the Jedis fighting in the background is cool, and something that this show does right. I really want a game fully set in the Jedi Massacre. We cut to 10 years later, and we see the planet that is covered in stuff that is coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. That's right, it's the same planet that the last 3 shows started on. 3 Inquisitors come out of a ship to hunt down a Jedi. I know that sounds like a setup for a joke, but it isn't. I think 3 is a little overkill for just 1 Jedi, but I will say that the showrunners did a good job translating them into live action for the most part. Now, one of them is not from the cartoon. Can you guess which one it is? Wait, that one? The Grand Inquisitor? Wow, you're a dumbass. It's actually this black lady. At first I thought she might have been the second sister from the video game Jedi Fallen Order, but she's not. Oh man, did I just pull a racism? I would tell you to pay attention to her character as she does become important later, but you knew that already because she's a female Star Wars OC. Or maybe you didn't know that already because she's black. Disney tends to have their non-white characters not do a whole lot in their shows and movies as of late. At least when they're not the main character. Anyways, they asked this guy about the whereabouts of a Jedi. He makes a fist. No, I do not know why he thinks even for a second he can take on 3 Dark Jedi at once. And then the Black Inquisitor lady throws a knife at his face. This gets the Jedi they are looking for to reveal himself. Yep, a Jedi mind trick ain't gonna get him out of this one. Now, this Jedi has lasted for this long, so you might think he's smart, but he's not. He knows he is being hunted, so once he helps someone because of his midichlorian compulsion, he should know that he needs to move on because once word spreads of his whereabouts, the Empire will come looking for him. So how was this guy not found until now? The Jedi, of course, tries to escape. The Inquisitors do not try to use the Force to stop him for some reason. They need him for questioning, but the Black Sith lady is like, no, I want to kill him. She swings her lightsaber, but the other Inquisitor uses the Force to stop it. For some reason, he used the Force to do that, but not stop the guy from running away. This, of course, allows the Jedi to escape. Okay, maybe sending 3 Inquisitors to get 1 Jedi was a bit underkill because of how incompetent they all are. So why couldn't they use the Force to grab him this time? Well, they don't feel like it. Why don't they keep running after him? Well, 2 pieces of cloth that they could easily walk around or slice through land in front of them. I am not joking, that really happened. So one of the biggest problems with this show is the editing. Like, I know what the actors think is supposed to be going on in this scene, but the effects clearly show they can walk around this stuff. And this is not even the only time something like this happens in this show. So the Grand Inquisitor is like, bitch, what's wrong with you? You let him get away. Do your job properly next time. And she's like, I want Kenobi. He's all I can think about. Work like this is beneath me. Now, we've seen plenty of times how an Imperial Imperial officer deals with their underlings mouthing off to them. So does he cut her down? Does he torture her? No, he just tells her he will relieve her of her duties. Wow, now I see why the Inquisitors are not worthy of being called true Sith. We cut to Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's cutting meat. Well, I've always wondered what his job was when he was in hiding, and now I know. He went from cutting up people and droids with a lightsaber to cutting up meat with a knife. The boss underpays this guy, then pushes him. Wow, what a dick. Isn't it sad that this hobo-looking dude is more Sith-like than the actual Inquisitors? Kenobi could do something, but he's trying to keep hidden. He rides on his Eopie, yes, that is what that thing is called, and goes home to have some CGI food. Some little shit Jawa sells Kenobi stuff he stole from his own home. I thought I was done with Skyrim jokes, but it looks like I was wrong. The next day, Kenobi spies on Luke from far away because he doesn't want to violate the court order. He even leaves a toy at his doorstep under the cover of night. But the Jedi from earlier spots him and tells Kenobi that he will tell the cops about him violating his restraining order. In all seriousness, Ben tells the young Jedi who was looking to be trained by him to bury his lightsaber in the sand and get a real job. As you can clearly see, Obi-Wan is yet another Lucas character who is a battered and broken old man. But here's the problem. He hasn't given up. He's still watching over Luke. That's why he is here in the first place. You can't have him be a guy who's given up when he clearly hasn't. He should have told this other guy how Luke is their last hope to make things right, trained him and used his help to watch over the boy. But no, he has to be a battered and broken old man so a girl can bring new light into his life. You know, the same plot that Kathleen Kennedy has done with tons of characters from Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Willow? See this video for more info. We cut to Alderaan, which looks amazing by the way. I really hope it doesn't blow up or something. We see 3 servants dressing what we're led to believe is Princess Leia, but nope, it's one of her body doubles. Isn't it amazing that her servants are more loyal to her than her own mother, the queen, the one who pays them? We see Leia running around a forest, climbing trees, and doing other things we don't normally think of princesses doing. Unless, of course, you have seen any movie that has come out in the last 50 years. This is nothing new, and I'm sick of it being treated as such. I would have much rather seen her being trained in sword combat or gun combat. Also, the queen literally says when she finds Leia in a tree, "It's like we are raising a boy." Wow, Disney, keep fighting those female stereotypes in the same way you have done for decades. Leia's mother punishes her by taking away her droid, and Leia steals it right back in front of her, and her mother is okay with this for some reason. If I pulled a stunt like that with my motherboard, you can bet your hard drive my human toys would be taken away for 3 times longer.
I hate not being able to roleplay as Am with my human toys.
Anyways, Luke's Uncle Owen tells Ben to keep away from his nephew, or he's gonna call the cops on him. Then the Inquisitors show up and start questioning people about the whereabouts of the Jedi. Now, they could use a Force mind trick to get the information, but I guess they don't feel like it. The alien guy is being the good cop, and the black girl is being the bad cop. I love that Disney will fight against the stereotype of girls not being able to climb trees like boys, but they will enforce the angry black woman stereotype in the exact same episode. She even does something very disarming to this poor old woman. She accuses Uncle Owen of being a Jedi simp, and he says, "No, I'm not." Shockingly, this doesn't work, and she gets ready to kill him. So out of the hundreds of people in this town, she just so happened to threaten a family member of Luke. Is this another super convenient thing that happened for the plot to move forward? No, it isn't, because A, it's super inconvenient, and B, it doesn't move the plot forward at all. Wow, somehow that's even worse. The alien dude tells the black lady that she's going too far. Pay attention to this because it will be important later. Princess Leia's parents talk about how they want to shut down forced labor. I like that Disney is trying to act like they agree with that when they really don't. Leia uses some big words to get this bully who is older than her to cry or something. Now, I've heard some people say that the actress looks 7 when she's supposed to be 10, but I looked it up and when the show came out, she was 10. But when the show was being made, she was most likely 9 or possibly even 8. She can't act very well like most child actors. Why couldn't they get someone who was older, who looked young, over picking someone who is too young for the role? Later on, Leia runs up to this creepy guy and asks him who he is. Plus, she's royalty. Shouldn't she know she's at a high risk of being kidnapped? Hell, most kids around her age are taught about stranger danger, and they aren't even royalty. Two other creepy guys appear behind her, so there's nowhere for her to run except for anywhere apparently, because she starts booking it, and for some reason they don't catch her in 3 seconds. I can tell that the actors for the kidnappers aren't running as fast as they can, but they keep getting closer and closer to her. But then it cuts to them being further away again, and then it repeats over and over. It's like the stuff with the claws stopping the Inquisitors all over again. The actors are clearly hoping things will be fixed in post, and they're not. I also kind of feel bad for the editors because they are more than likely trying their best to make this look good, but the director didn't give them anything good to work with. She's small, just have her run through trees and bushes or something. There are very few people with enough suspension of disbelief to not burst out laughing at this scene. I get that she's a female in modern Star Wars, so she has to be amazing at everything. But this is really pushing it. Rey being super good at using every single force power with no training wasn't even as cringe as this. Also, this full chase scene is pointless because she gets caught anyways. I could go on and on about what's wrong with this scene, but I think this review is already long enough as it is. Leia's parents ask Obi-Wan if he can find their daughter, because if there's one person who knows how to grab kids, it's him. Oh, also the young Jedi guy gets killed. Wow, that would have meant something if it was a character we actually cared about. Leia's dad comes to see Obi-Wan, and he says the line that sums up this entire show.
You're about the boy and you know it.
Princess Leia is tied up, but the guards don't know about the droid she has on her because they are stupid. It cuts her free with some saw blades. Why does a child's toy have that? Oh, I know, it's for plot convenience. But as soon as she's free, a guard comes in, takes her toy away and smashes it. So that plot convenience was entirely pointless. Kenobi digs up his old lightsaber. No, I do not know how he found it when there's no landmarks, and no, he didn't find it because the Force guided him or something, because it's made clear later on that he's cut off from the Force. It's revealed that Leia was captured by the third sister to get Kenobi out of hiding. Okay, let's go through a list of all the problems with this plan and how it doesn't add up at all. 1. How did she know Leia's father knew Kenobi? 2. Why did she think he would try to save her? We know why, it's because she's the daughter of Anakin, but she doesn't know that. 3. If anyone finds out that she kidnapped a princess, the Empire will have interplanetary problems with the people of Alderaan. 4. She's a princess, and her father could have sent an army to get her back. Yes, he went to Kenobi, but she didn't know for sure that he would do that. And 5th, and most importantly, even if this plan does somehow work and everything goes perfectly, it would still make tons of problems for the Empire down the line for kidnapping a princess just to kill one guy. Like, I know the writers think they are smart, but this plan only works if everything goes perfectly and everybody acts like a colossal idiot. But at least we are finally done with episode 1. Let's hope that this show gets better from here, but knowing Disney's track record, I have a bad feeling about this. Okay, so I just realized I've almost scripted 6 pages just for my review of episode 1 of this show. So I'm gonna try to review the rest of the episodes a little bit faster. Episode 2 is focused on Obi-Wan finding this fake Jedi who tricks people into thinking he's force sensitive by using magnets. This is something out of a Star Wars parody! Didn't Robot Chicken do something like this?
I guess I'm the only person who knows how to change a coffee filter.
Kenobi puts his faith in this scammer specifically because he's a bottom feeder, and then he sneaks into a place where people are making death sticks. You know, I made a lot of Breaking Bad jokes in my review of The Mandalorian because the main villain was played by the same actor who played Gus, but this episode takes the Breaking Bad references to a whole nother level.
Darth Vader had responsibilities. He was responsible for the Death Star.
True that, tootin' bitches.
Kenobi even dresses up like Heisenberg. He sets off an explosion to sneak into another room, and then he fights 2 guys and, okay, this doesn't feel like Star Wars anymore. You can put everything that has happened so far in any TV show, and it would work just as well. Come on, I just want to see him use the Force, or his lightsaber, or at least something Star Wars-y.
Looking me, am a civilization person.
Anyways, Kenobi gets tricked and they capture him. Why did he think Leia was here again? He uses a smoke bomb to escape. Wow! It's almost like that scene was entirely pointless or something. Something tells me the writers just watched Breaking Bad and wanted to see if they could do something similar. He manages to find Leia, maybe the Force guided him or something, but it's not really made clear.
This is what who fuck.
Hey Leia, I'm here to save you because I'm a pro at snatching up kids.
Upon hearing this, Leia of course starts freaking out. The third sister shows up looking for Kenobi, along with the other Inquisitors. The Grand Inquisitor isn't really happy with her kidnapping a princess like a dragon. She just straight up mouths off to her superior officer, and she can do that because she's a woman, I guess. A bounty notification of Kenobi's face is sent to every hunter on the planet. I could make a YouTube joke, but you've already made it. Kenobi looks for a disguise and Leia gets distracted. I think I should point out that Leia acts nothing like how she did in episode 1. In fact, I would go as far as to say she acts like a normal kid. She screams when she sees a creepy guy. She runs off and gets scared when she bumps into a big alien. She even makes jokes about Kenobi's age. I can tell that this show went through a few rewrites, but it's clear to me that this episode is one they didn't change all that much. This episode is boring, sure, but at least it's not pissing me off even close to as much as the first one did. Granted, Leia not trusting him even though he just saved her, and her not shutting up does make this episode drag. I don't know why they gave so many lines to this girl who clearly can't act. That all being said, I really hope that this actress's life isn't made into a living hell like it was for the child actor of Anakin Skywalker. A bounty hunter charges at Ben in an alleyway, and Kenobi just punches him in the face. Okay, at this point I'm convinced. This script was made as the parody version of this show, but the two scripts got mixed up somehow. Leia finds out about the wanted poster, and just like a person on Twitter who talks more about the thumbnail of a video than the contents, she starts freaking out and runs away from them. He's having a hard time catching her. Now at least this time it's shown that because she's little, she can move around crowded areas a lot faster than, well, he can. She gets grabbed by a bounty hunter and Kenobi kills him right in front of her. That girl is gonna grow up with PTSD for sure. She still doesn't trust him even though he just saved her a second time, and runs past him even though he could easily grab her. Like, look at this, she is an arm's length of him. We see a bunch of stormtroopers showing up who will do literally nothing in this entire episode. I'm not joking, I think the script just forgot about them. The fake Jedi guy also shows up on the rooftops. I don't know how he knew Kenobi would be here. Maybe the fake Force told him or something. There's not even a point to him being here. He sees the fight go down, but he doesn't help. He's just standing there, menacingly. So yes, this is another super convenient thing that happened, but it doesn't move the plot forward at all, which makes it worse in my opinion. The third sister is doing some parkour for some reason. Kenobi manages to take out one of the bounty hunters who is shooting at him. Keep in mind, only one of the bounty hunters. Then Leia decides she doesn't want to be in this show anymore, and she jumps off a building. In Minecraft, calm down YouTube.
You jumped off a roof! I don't know what to think!
Luckily for her, Kenobi manages to save her with the Force. Now I know what you're thinking. Wait, but what about that other bounty hunter who was shooting at Kenobi as he was saving her? Well, the thing is, that bounty hunter doesn't exist anymore. Yep, the writers forgot he was up here shooting at Kenobi. I think maybe the fake Jedi guy was originally meant to take him out, but the editor of this episode cut that scene out, or Disney didn't want to see a man do something competent. Either way, it doesn't add up. But now Leia finally trusts him because she knows he's a real Jedi and not because he saved her 3 times in a row. Now, is it just me, or could you have cut everything out from the point where he first saved Leia from the guys who captured her to the moment where he saved her with the Force and nothing in the story would change?
Yes! Yes!
I heard this show was going to be a movie at one point, and it was stretched out into a 6-episode long show. But it's clear which scenes were added in to make the story longer, and this is for sure one of them. Oh, there's the second bounty hunter. Oh, he just got taken out by the fake Jedi. Why did this happen here and not on the roof? Anyways, the fake Jedi tells Kenobi how to get off the planet. Apparently, there's an Automatic space dock that can't be shut down. So let me get this straight. The Empire won't shut down an automatic space dock to catch the second most wanted man after Yoda. Seems legit. The fake Jedi tells Ben he will buy him time, and then he gets his ass kicked by the second sister in 3 seconds. Dude, you're a normal human, she's an Inquisitor. What did you think was gonna happen? Then she reads his mind, finding Kenobi's location, which will no doubt make it easier for her to find him than if this guy didn't try to stop her. Seems to me like he bought Kenobi negative time. Also, it's a little strange that she read someone's mind this time, but not in episode 1 when she was looking for a Jedi. She lets the fake Jedi go so he can run off. She doesn't try to kill him or get him arrested, she just lets him run off. But I guess what he did wasn't a big deal. He only colluded with the man she spent years looking for. They are heading to the ship to get off the planet when Leia suddenly blames Ben for everything bad that has happened to her. She blames him for the bounty hunters chasing her and for almost falling to her death. You little shit. All of those things were your fault. If you didn't run off, none of those things would have happened to you. And he was the guy who saved you from all of that. What's wrong with you? Apparently, she says all of this to Ben to convince him to accept help from people who offer it. Didn't you not accept help from Kenobi earlier? You know, the guy you just told this lecture to? But the third sister catches up to them and they hide. She gets really close to finding them and then the Grand Inquisitor shows up and calls her a poopy head. She stabs him in the stomach. Okay, she just killed or at least attempted to kill a superior officer. She's gonna be executed for sure. Oh wait, I forgot. She's a woman in a modern Disney show. She can do whatever she wants. To me, this episode isn't as bad as the first one. It wasn't that bad at all at first, but man, did it get worse and worse as it went on. And believe it or not, this is actually the best episode out of all of them. It just gets worse from this point onwards. Episode 3 starts off shockingly cool. Vader is putting his armor on after getting out of his healing tank. We see his robot limbs, his iconic helmet, and other things. It's all just so cool. It also turns out his home is on the same planet where he got burnt by Kenobi. Wow, seems like a bad place to live. I mean, would you like to live on a planet where the most tragic moment of your life happened? Oh wait, we all do. My analogy is still better than most of the writing in this show. He has a chat with the third sister on Discord, even though she's the lowest ranked Inquisitor out of all 3 of them. She blames the Grand Inquisitor getting stabbed on Kenobi.
Hello.
And Vader offers her a position for the new spot that has just opened up if she completes a mission.
I say, hold up. Wait a minute!
He's offering the job of Grand Inquisitor if she just completes a mission? What about all the other Inquisitors, some of which are a higher rank than her? Kenobi and Leia land on a desert planet, but not the same desert planet that you're thinking of, or any of the other desert planets you have seen up to this point. I hate that every new Star Wars planet that Disney introduces is just so coarse, rough, and they're everywhere. We cut to the Inquisitors who send out droids to find them. And yeah, that's about it. We cut back to our dynamic duo. Ben Kenobi arrives at the location where he was going to meet someone who was going to help him and Leia arrive at their destination. And in the span of about 5 seconds, he starts freaking out because the other person isn't there to meet them. Leia takes charge because she doesn't have a Y chromosome, and they hitchhike on this mole rat's truck. The cover story they came up with is that she's his daughter, and they are farmers. The driver lets them ride with him, and we see that he's pro-Empire, and probably says things like based and red lightsaber pilled. Now this is one of the scenes that I actually really like in this show. We see someone who's a normal working Joe and they love the Empire. We get the chance to hear their perspective. He talks about how he loves the stability they bring, along with other reasons as to why he likes the Empire. We really only have been following the story from our hero's point of view for all the movies. This is just like how in Avatar we are sometimes shown the lives of normal Fire Nation citizens. You can find a few videos on YouTube about how the Empire was right all along. But that all being said, a few people who like this show flipped out at this scene, saying things like, "It's like the equivalent of a guy who had a Trump sticker on his car." They also said it humanized the types of people they disagree with. Yes it does, that's the point. I love that when I at long last see something I actually like in this show. The people who have enjoyed this show up to this point hate it. Some stormtroopers also come on board for the ride, and they say,
"We're looking for a Jedi. A picture of him was taken and sent to all the bounty hunters, but for some reason, we didn't get it. But we do know he looks like an old man and he's traveling with a little girl."
They start asking basic questions like, how are you doing? Where are you headed? And Obi-Wan is struggling to answer them. But luckily for him, he has a perfect 10-year-old Mary Sue who's smarter than him and does a better job with the questions than he ever could. You know, if you can't agree with my point about every woman being perfect in Disney Star Wars, while every established male character is now a washed-up shell of their former self, then please tell me what needs to happen to convince you at this point. Ben Kenobi, because he's a man, lets Leia's name slip. The stormtroopers don't immediately jump on him, even though he fits the description perfectly. Hell, at this point they don't even need a picture of him, which they don't have apparently, even though it was sent to every bounty hunter in the last episode. But they now also know he's with a girl by the name of Leia, and they were given a different name for her earlier, so their story doesn't add up. He comes up with a story about it being her mother's name. On the one hand, it's a little creepy for any man to mix up his child and his lover. I didn't realize Star Wars had an Alabama.
In spice.
But it's clear the subtext is referring to Padme Amidala, someone Kenobi knew well and lost. He's telling the viewer he misses her very much, and Leia reminds him of her. This is a well-written line. It's too bad it's surrounded by stupid lines that ruin it. Wouldn't it have been cool if they were like, "Oh shit, you're the Jedi," and then he pulled out his lightsaber and cut them down? I mean, come on, it's episode 3 and he still hasn't used it. They come to an Empire checkpoint and the guards think Obi-Wan looks sus. Seems like Leia's plan ended up backfiring. Too bad the script doesn't acknowledge it. Kenobi reaches for his gun that all the troopers can clearly see him do. Anytime I have put my hand near my hip while talking to an officer, it hasn't gone well for me. It's almost like Hollywood writers live where cops don't normally patrol or something. Because if the police did patrol their area, they would find a few too many younglings being trafficked. A droid comes over to scan him. Obi-Wan shoots the droid, and as you can clearly see, at least 2 of the troopers have their guns pointed right at him. So do they shoot him right through the chest? No, they just stand still as he grabs one of their guns. I'm gonna be honest here. Out of any fight scene in all of the Disney Star Wars TV shows I have seen up to this point, this one is hands down the worst one. Whoever choreographed this needs to be sent into the Sarlacc pit. Kenobi even uses the mole rat alien guy as a shield, which makes him look like a villain, and the stormtroopers look like the good guys. Why do they give a shit about this random delivery guy? When have they ever cared about bystanders before? Kenobi defeats them and shuts down the laser gate, even though he can clearly walk around it. He walks through, and in 4 seconds, a battalion of stormtroopers drive right up to him. By the way, when I say battalion, I mean there's only 3 stormtroopers. Now, Kenobi literally just took out 5, so 3 should be no problem for him, right? He walks up to them and surrenders for some reason. Buddy, you just killed 5 of their friends, so I don't think they're taking any prisoners. A female stormtrooper tells him to put his head down, but not drop his weapon, which, by the way, he's pointing right at them. Now, you might think he's going to shoot them, but nope. The female stormtrooper officer shoots all 3 of them in the back. It turns out she was the one who was coming to meet them, so if Kenobi stayed in the meeting place and didn't listen to a 10-year-old girl, those troopers would still be alive. In other words, Leia is indirectly responsible for the deaths of all those men. Also, isn't it amazing that the writers had to force a scene where a woman saves a man even though it doesn't make sense? We were literally shown Kenobi taking out 5 troopers, but then he just has to give up to 3 of them so she can be the one to save him. Now, I want to make this clear, I'm cool with women saving men, but this just seems forced. They get to a town and there's stormtroopers looking for Obi-Wan. The officer leaves Obi-Wan and Leia to check out the safe house. Leia panics a little bit and Obi-Wan tells her it will all be okay. Then she literally says, "I didn't mean to run away." Wait, what? You did mean to run away. Everyone who runs away does it on purpose. But sure, she's a kid. Kids act like that. Okay, is she meant to be a kid or someone who is wise beyond her years? because the writers can't seem to decide. Her personality just flip-flops so much. It's almost like at one point this was meant to be a movie before it was stretched out, and new writers came on board to change her character from what it was before. Then Obi-Wan literally tells her it wasn't her fault. Bro, if you enforce this behavior, she's going to do it again. Anyways, they hide in a droid factory that leads them to the Underground Railroad. It's an underground tunnel that many Jedis have been smuggled through. A little later on, troopers come into the droid factory to do a search for a Jedi that they have no clue as to what he looks like. The officer panics and says, "Someone must have seen us." I mean, maybe they have seen you, but they don't know who they are looking for. My god, this show is stupid. Somehow it's suddenly nighttime, and Obi-Wan thinks he can sense Vader. He goes to check outside through a window, and he sees tons and tons of stormtroopers. Bro, you had hours already. Just go down the tunnel. Then Vader shows up and starts killing random people because he can sense a Jedi is near. Obi-Wan decides to sacrifice himself, even though he already had hours to run down the tunnel. You know, there's a thin line between bravery and stupidity, but this is nowhere near that line. It's just stupidity. But Obi-Wan decides to be even more stupid by standing near the door where the secret tunnel is, and watches Darth Vader kill a bunch of people because, well, I guess he thought it was funny or something. At long last, he goes off running. The Inquisitors are ordered not to chase after him, but to go look for other Jedi. Oh, wow. I wonder if the third sister is going to be the one to find them first. I mean, on the one hand, she is a woman and they can do anything in Disney Star Wars, but on the other hand, she's a POC and they can't do anything in Disney Star Wars. So despite Obi-Wan running at full speed, Vader somehow teleports in front of him. Also, no, it's not one of his powers. The writers just don't know what they are doing. Obi-Wan gets ready to fight, but then he decides to run away around the pile of sand to the other side, and Vader just turns around. I'm not making this up. This is what really happened. Then he does it again. What's going on? I know the actors think this will be fixed in post, but it's clearly not. This just looks terrible. It's obvious that it's the same pile of sand. Anyways, the third sister luckily picks the right building to search. Vader somehow sneaks up next to Obi-Wan. Have you ever heard his breathing? That shit's loud as fuck. So how did he sneak up on a Jedi, let alone anyone? Because Obi-Wan had tons of free time on his hands and had the important task of looking after the last hope for the universe. He's, of course, out of practice with a lightsaber and gets his ass kicked by Vader. The third sister is checking out some stuff in the droid shop. Oh, wow! Look at this wall! It's the most amazing wall I have ever seen in my life. Or maybe I'm just entertained by it because I watched the Kenobi show. Leia tells the officer that she should go help Obi-Wan, and the officer, mind you, takes orders from a 10-year-old girl. The third sister finds the hidden tunnel. The lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader is just really bad. I love the part where Vader just taps Obi-Wan's lightsaber and he falls over. I'm not gonna lie, this actually might be the worst lightsaber fight I've ever seen. So Vader, who at this point must be super bored with fighting Obi-Wan, lifts him up in the air using the Force, then starts a fire and puts his face in it. But we already know from the original trilogy that Obi-Wan is not covered in burns, so there's only one logical explanation. Kenobi is fireproof! Sure, he's yelling a little, but he's right in the fire, and later on he's fine. Trust me, if you were covered in fire for that long and lived, some of your limbs would have to be amputated. Now, we were already shown that Vader can use the Force on Obi-Wan from this distance, and now we are shown that he can use the Force to put out the fire. Now, why am I bringing all of this up? Well, it's because the writers literally forget Vader can do all of this in the next 10 seconds. The officer lady shows up somehow. She didn't run into the third sister through the tunnel on her way back, but I guess tunnels are very spacious. People miss one another going through those things all the time. The officer shoots a stormtrooper and they start looking all over instead of the direction the blaster came from. from for some reason. Then she shoots the oil, reigniting the fire, and Vader does not use the Force to grab Obi-Wan, and he does not use the Force to put out the fire. He just lets his worst enemy get away. He's just standing there, menacingly, but he's still just standing there. Now, maybe because Vader knows there's troopers all over this town, they are still going to catch Obi-Wan, right? Nope, they lose him. Somehow, the third sister is at the end of the tunnel. Even though Leia has outrun full-grown men many times, this woman somehow ran past the officer, then Leia, then waited at the end of the tunnel for her. Okay, I think this show might be worse than Rise of Skywalker. Sure, more super convenient things happened in the plot of that movie that I had to use quantum mechanics to explain it, but this show just doesn't make any sense at all. It's like that scene in Last Jedi where Rose and Finn somehow made it back to the base without getting shot, despite being right in front of the First Order army. But episode 3 of Kenobi is like that scene if it was stretched out into a full-length episode. I want you guys to know I stopped watching this show before the fight with Vader and Obi-Wan. I now know I picked a very good spot to stop watching because this is just really, really bad. The good news is we are halfway done with this show. The bad news is, from what I've heard, it just gets worse from here. Episode 4 starts off with Kenobi in a healing tank. Now it turns out he does have some fire damage, but only on one of his arms. Now I know the writers can't have his face or hands be burnt because that would conflict with the original trilogy, but they could have had everywhere else be burnt. He's covered in a robe the entire time. If the writers wanted Vader to take his revenge against Obi-Wan, but also only have a small part of him be burnt, he could have used the Force to, I don't know, throw flaming rocks at him or something. Obi-Wan could have been dodging them, slicing a few of them up with his lightsaber, but then one of them hits him on the arm, burning him severely. It just seems odd for Vader's revenge to involve only burning a very small part of him. Hell, they even show comparisons between Vader's burnt arm and Kenobi's burnt arm. Yes, Kenobi's arm is messed up pretty badly, but at least it's still there. Obi-Wan gets out of the Vacta tank and says, "Where's that little girl Leia at?" We cut to Leia, who has handcuffs that are obviously too big for her and she can easily slip out of them. Also, her personality flips back to her being a strong, independent woman, and she makes demands towards the stormtroopers who have guns. Reva tells Leia that Obi-Wan is dead, and Leia says, "Lol, no, you're lying." Anyways, this guy tells Obi-Wan Kenobi that there are too many people looking for him, and he needs to get on the next transport out of here. Bro, you're part of the Underground Railroad for Jedis and people who are Force sensitive. There's too many people looking for everyone you help. But Obi-Wan tells him that they have to rescue Leia because she knows their location? What? Who gives away their secret location to a 10-year-old child? At this point, I'm surprised that the Empire hasn't found this Underground Railroad for Jedis yet. And surprisingly, despite this guy now knowing that Leia knows their location, he just says that he doesn't care about Leia. Well, you should care because she has information that will shut down your whole operation. And then surprisingly, the writing actually gets even worse. I didn't even think that was possible. Obi-Wan tells him, "You have no idea how important Leia is to me." And the guy tells him, "I do know how important Leia is to you, because I lost my wife, so I'll help you." Okay, so the guy didn't want to help, then he remembered his dead wife, and now he wants to help? What? Is this a scene that was meant to be rewritten, but they only got halfway through rewriting it or something? So they go over the plan to rescue Leia. She's being held in an Empire base on the water moon of Nur. Oh, thank God, it's not another desert planet for once. Wait a second, isn't that the same base from Jedi Fallen Order? Now you're probably thinking, why was this base built in water instead of, you know, on land or in space? Well, you see, it's because the base is impenetrable. But why is it so impenetrable? Does it have a really strong shield protecting it? Is it covered in cannons? Or maybe something in orbit is protecting it? Well, it actually has none of those things. Obi-Wan even says, "I don't see any shields around it." And the other guy tells him the reason why it's impenetrable. It's because, no one would be stupid enough to attack it. Yep, that's right, it's impenetrable because, well, it's impenetrable. Well, I guess American military bases could get rid of all their defenses because no one would be stupid enough to attack them. Apparently, only an idiot would attack a base with no defenses. This is like something out of Baki. The greatest defense is not having defense at all, but that show is meant to be stupid. Kenobi tells the others that they need to find a way inside. They tell him they're not soldiers, and he tells them that she's 10 years old. I think we're missing about half the lines because this conversation doesn't make any sense at all. Obi-Wan and the officer lady start flying towards the base, and Kenobi is trying his best to use the Force, but he can barely move this small little object. Wow, to get his Force powers back up to where it needs to be, he needs like a year of training. I sure hope he doesn't get all of his powers back just because of one emotional moment, because that would be really lame. Reva is still interrogating Leia about the location of the Underground Railroad for Jedis so she can find Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I just realized something. How does she know Leia knows the location? Yeah, we know why Kenobi knows Leia knows, but how does Reva know that Leia knows? I certainly know something. The writers don't know how to write. Now in episode 2, we saw Reva use the Force to read the fake Jedi guy's mind, so I don't know why she's interrogating this little girl instead of, you know, trying to read her mind. Kenobi and the officer lady land on the base. We see a bunch of TIE fighters hanging from the ceiling, and a bunch of other ships on the runway. Wow, it seems like if their cover is blown and they try to run away, all these ships would catch them for sure. Unless, of course, the writers forget about them or something. As they're walking into the base, this male officer asks the female officer for her clearance code. It flashes red, of course, because, well, she's not supposed to be in this area. In fact, she's supposed to be on a completely different planet. She starts visibly panicking, and the guy tells her that he can't let her through. This is not her area. What is she doing here? Wow, it seems like this plan already failed. I don't know why she's panicking. This is obviously what the expected outcome was going to be. If her having the wrong clearance isn't what's going to get them caught, her panicking is what's going to get them caught for sure. But despite how obviously suspicious she is, she just tells the guy, I have top secret information, let me through, or I'm gonna call your mom. And this works somehow. Now, despite never being in this base before, she finds the control room pretty easily. She opens a hatch at the bottom of the base. Obi-Wan swims through it, but then there's this door with a stormtrooper in front of it. Obi-Wan knocks on it, the stormtrooper opens it, and Obi-Wan takes him out. Knock, knock. Who's there? Pizza. Oh boy, pizza. I said it once and I'll say it again. This was originally meant to be the parody version of the show. Reva finally tries to read Leia's mind, but even though it worked on a grown man, it doesn't work on this 10-year-old girl, because she was born with the greatest power in all of the Star Wars galaxy. 2 X chromosomes. Yep, apparently because Leia was born with the Force, even though she has no training, she's able to subconsciously resist one of the highest ranked Inquisitors. Now you can make the argument that anyone who's Force sensitive, even if they're a baby with no training, can resist even a Master Jedi or Sith trying to peer into their mind. Well then that makes Kylo Ren look stupid for trying to read Rey's mind. Leia's little droid tries to free her, but just like last time it fails. Even if it got the handcuffs off of her, I don't see how Leia could have escaped. The officer lady, not so discreetly, is talking into a microphone, giving Kenobi instructions. One of the officers in the room with her notices what she's doing, but he's just sitting there, menacingly. But he's still not doing anything. What is wrong with people in this show? Yeah, him noticing what she's doing doesn't lead into anything at all. Kenobi sees a probe droid and tells her about it. She just says, yo man, they're everywhere, you're kind of fucked. Wow, she was helpful. An officer comes up behind her and says, what are you doing here? This isn't your station. I need to see some ID. And she's like, oh sure, I'll show you some ID. And he's like, don't show me it here. Show me it over there where you can easily knock me out. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she leaves her microphone speaker on the desk. That other officer is going to hear what Obi-Wan is saying. He's not going to do anything about it, but he's, going to hear it. Now, despite the probe droid having cameras all over its body, allowing it to see in 360 degrees, Kenobi just, sneaks around it. He even closes a door in front of it, and it's like, huh, what's this door doing here? Who closed it? It's probably unimportant. I'm gonna go over here. He enters into a hallway, sees 2 stormtroopers looking right at him, but then he decides to hide in a hole in the wall, and they decide to be polite and pretend to not notice him. It's a hallway! They saw him for sure! The officer lady strangles the other officer. Plenty of stormtroopers clearly heard this, but they're gonna be polite and pretend they didn't hear anything. She goes back to her desk, grabs the microphone, and whispers into it, Ben. And despite everything that her and Kenobi have gotten away with up to this point, somehow the 2 stormtroopers hear this. This is like that one scene from SpongeBob when SpongeBob snuck into Patrick's room, made a whole bunch of noise, and then woke him up when he whispered. But that was meant to be funny. This is meant to be taken seriously. Reva decides that they're going to torture Leia for the information. We're gonna pull your fingernails off.
Oh, that doesn't sound so bad.
And then we're gonna show you the Kenobi show. No! Please!
Please now!
Obi-Wan comes across a whole bunch of frozen Jedi. Oh god, that's horrifying. Too bad it adds nothing to the plot. Leia's strapped down to a chair, but it seems like Reva can't go through with torturing a child, even though she's done things like cut off an old woman's hand and a whole bunch of other terrible things. Yep, the writers have decided that they're going to try to give this character a redemption arc. Yay! I forgot she's a woman, so she can't be evil. Obi-Wan sees a frozen Jedi youngling.
Oh my god, I can't believe they did this to a child. I sure hope the Empire doesn't do this to another child.
Wait, what was I here to do again? Kenobi hears Leia screaming. He tells the officer lady to create a distraction. So the officer lady orders the Inquisitor to stop doing what she's doing and come meet her. Do people just take orders from those who are of a lower rank than them in the Empire or something? But somehow Reva can tell that the officer lady is lying even though she has no reason to. But all of those other male officers had reason to believe that she was lying, but they believed her for some reason. Obi-Wan turns off the lights and then uses his lightsaber to take out the stormtroopers. On the one hand, I'm happy that Obi-Wan is finally using his lightsaber, but on the other hand, isn't a lightsaber like one of the worst stealth weapons? Okay, you turned off the lights, but your lightsaber, you know, gives off light, and it also makes a lot of noise.
Obi-Wan, thank you for rescuing me. By the way, I didn't tell them anything.
I know you didn't, because you're a strong, independent woman. Reva somehow knows that the spy is part of the Path, the group that helps Force sensitives escape the grasp of the Empire. Now, if you're wondering how the third sister figured that out, good for you. But she has no idea what the spy is doing. Apparently Reva is smart enough to know that this person is from the Path, but doesn't know why this person distracted her while she was about to interrogate someone. Also, they say that it doesn't make sense that Obi-Wan managed to get past a Imperial checkpoint, directly telling us that if she wasn't there to help Obi-Wan, he would have been captured. He took down 5 of them. She only took down 3. 8 stormtroopers versus 1 Jedi? My money's gonna be on the Jedi. Now, how does the spy girl get out of this predicament? I cannot say that word. Well, she tells Reva that she's actually a double agent. She's only pretending to be a spy for the rebellion. Hey Reva, I got a really good idea on how you can tell if she's lying to you or not. You could, oh, I don't know, read her mind. As Obi-Wan and Leia are running away, one of the probe droids spots them and starts beeping. Wait a second, I thought probe droids had weapons on them. This thing just beeps? You might as well have used a basic security camera instead of something like this. Reva decides to go check out the alarm. She does not slice off the head of the obvious spy in front of her, but she does at least leave her with 2 stormtroopers. So how does the officer spy woman get out of this predicament? Yes, I said it right! Well, she bitch slaps one of them through the helmet. Apparently the helmet doesn't protect them at all, and then tickles the other one underneath his chin. This takes them both out somehow. So Obi-Wan, even though we were just told it was impossible for him to take on 8 stormtroopers, is taking on a whole bunch of stormtroopers, and he's actually being cool. The probe droid is finally using its weapons. Obi-Wan is blocking blaster bolts fired at him from both sides. He takes them all out, and then 2 more stormtroopers show up. He takes both of them out as well, but the glass gets cracked. Oh my god, he just deflected a blaster bolt fired at him from behind. Oh, that's so cool. Uh-oh, there's a whole squad of them. Oh man, he just deflected a blaster bolt into the control panel, closing the door on them. Oh, that's so cool. Oh no, the glass is gonna break. Oh, he's holding it back with the Force. Okay, so finally the show is turning into what I wanted it to be, but there's one issue. It was established that he sucks with a lightsaber, and that he sucks at using the Force. So how can he suddenly do all of this? Yeah, sure, he was one of the greatest Master Jedis of all time, but it was established in the show that he lost all of his skill, and most of his Force powers. Like, one training episode would have been nice, but then again, the writing of Disney Star Wars has never been known for being consistent. The officer lady shows up and takes Leia with her. Obi-Wan is holding back the ocean and, okay, 1 blaster bolt did this much damage? This impenetrable base was really penetrated by 1 blaster bolt? What if one of the guns accidentally malfunctioned and hit the glass? Put some shields around it. The stormtroopers decide to open the door even though they can tell that that room is about to get flooded, and Obi-Wan goes into the Avatar state and bends all the water towards towards them. Okay, so now we're getting to the most infamous scene in this entire show. Now don't get me wrong, it is bad, but it's not the absolute worst scene I've seen in any TV show I've reviewed. If you've seen my review of Witcher Blood Origin, which by the way, please go check it out, I put a lot of work into it and I have even come close to breaking even on it. At the end of episode 3, this dwarf disguises herself in elven armor, and despite being half the size of the elves, she somehow manages to sneak into the elven city. Despite how absolutely bad this scene is in Obi-Wan, it's not as bad as that. Anyways, let's go over it. Obi-Wan disguises himself as an Imperial officer, and then walks out with Leia, hiding her under his coat. Once again, I think this was originally meant to be the parody version of the show. So many people have compared this to a scene from Austin Powers, and I don't blame them. Obviously, that was meant to be funny, and this is meant to be taken seriously. But to make this scene even worse, this base is on high alert. For the first time ever, this impenetrable base has been penetrated. Even in Austin Powers, the base was at least not on high alert. This would never work. Everyone can tell that guy has too many legs, and it's clear that he has a child hiding under his coat. And this could easily be fixed. Just put Leia in a suitcase or something. But even then, they're looking for the officer lady and Obi-Wan. So even if Leia wasn't in the picture, it's completely improbable for them to just walk out of here. They just walk right past the checkpoint, several officers. There's even 2 Inquisitors on this base. You know, Force users who can sense when other Force users are nearby. Something that was clearly established in the last episode. And no, Obi-Wan is not cut off from the Force anymore. He's clearly using it. Okay, you know what? At this point, I'm done being polite. If you are someone who unironically likes this show, you need to know that it's objectively a bad show. Your opinions are bad, and you should feel bad for liking it. At one point, Leia even lifts up the coat and looks through it. Okay, remember what I said about the scene from Witcher Blood Origin? I changed my mind. This is actually worse. They're about to walk out of this impenetrable base that is, for some reason, not on lockdown, and then Reva shows up with a whole bunch of troopers behind her. Reva literally tells the officer lady that she betrayed the Empire. The officer lady tells her that she was never on her side, and over 90% of the people who watched this show up to this point all unanimously said, no shit. So how will our heroes get out of this predicament? Did I say it right that time? I don't even know. Well, 2 small snow speeders that are on a water planet for some reason show up to penetrate this impenetrable base. Now, remember all those Imperial ships we saw at the start of this episode? Well, they're all gone now. The writers forgot they existed. Obi-Wan starts using a blaster. I guess he forgot he had a lightsaber again. They hop on one of the snow speeders, which I think can only hold 2 people. I guess Leia can sit in Obi-Wan's lap, but how is the lady gonna get in? Well, the other one is distracting Reva, and yes, a lot of people have pointed out the size comparison between her and this ship. She either grew super big, that ship is really small along with the pilot, or the effects team is not doing a very good job. She manages to destroy it while Obi-Wan and the others get away. The other Inquisitor tells Reva everything is her fault, which it is. And then Darth Vader shows up and he's like, why the fuck did no one send a ship after them? He starts force choking Reva and she yells out, but I put a tracker on the ship. And Darth Vader tells her, it seems like I've underestimated you. So yep, everything stupid in this episode was all a part of Reva's plan. Okay, so our heroes were actually stupid enough to think this plan would work. And now that Leia has had the experience of being captured by the Empire and having a tracker put on her ship as she escapes, then how did this happen to her a second time when she was an adult? Yo, Han, Luke, Chewie, let's pull a Falcon over and carefully search it for any trackers. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. This happened to me when I was a kid. Also, it's clearly been established that Reva really wants to get revenge on Obi-Wan. She doesn't care about any other Jedi. So why does she want to suddenly find the path? Turns out the tracker is in the droid. Apparently, Reva knew Obi-Wan was going to save Leia. Like, I know she knew he was coming, but did she also think he would actually escape? It feels like they written this in at the last moment because they realized, oh shit, none of this makes any sense at all. Okay, let's write a scene at the very end that explains that the officers, the troopers, and the Inquisitors all pretended to not notice them. I've brought up multiple times that this was originally supposed to be a movie before it was stretched out into a TV show. I've pointed out which scenes I thought were added in, but there's no scene like that in this entire episode because the whole episode was clearly added in to stretch out the runtime. I think it's the worst episode so far because it's wholly original. They didn't use the original script as a blueprint for it, but at least we're 2/3 of the way done with this show. Just 2 more episodes to go. Now I'm told by people who actually like this show that episode 5 is their favorite one. Now maybe it will be the best episode of this show, or maybe they just saw episode 4 first and their expectations were so low that they actually thought this was a good episode. It starts off with a flashback of Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker. They brought in the original actors and used CGI to de-age them. Wow, it actually looks pretty good on Ian McGregor, and on Hayden Christensen it looks, oh dear God! Like from his eyes up it looks fine, but what's up with his jaw? And he looks so old. McGregor looks younger than him. They're about to spar, but then we cut to Darth Vader, who's talking with Reva. And because she actually did something competent for once, Vader gives her a gold star sticker. We cut to our heroes who are landing in a rebel base. Everybody's really sad that Wade died. I guess I would also be sad if I got to know him at all. Oh, and the fake Jedi guy from episode 2 is here for some reason. The rebel group is getting ready to leave, but Vader is heading towards their location because the droid has a tracker in it. And you can tell it has a tracker in it because it's now a Sith. Yeah, it's glowing red and everything. Oh yeah, and apparently Jedis who were helped by the path left their lightsabers behind. I thought those weapons were meant to be their life, and they're easy to conceal. Being defenseless doesn't make you better at hiding. The little droid toy starts destroying wires. You see, this is why you shouldn't put weapons on a child's toy. Yeah, remember when I said that droid was made into a Sith? I think you can now clearly tell it didn't just have a tracker put inside of it. This causes the hatch to seal up, and now they all know that Vader is on his way. We cut back to the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then it ends. Okay, I guess that was nice. Obi-Wan gives an inspiring speech to the rebels. He tells them that if they fight against the Empire, they will all die.
If we try and fight them, we will not survive.
But then he tells them that they just have to run away. So they just need to hold the Empire off until they can get that hatch opened. The Star Destroyer releases a few ships to destroy the rebel base. Yep, there's all the ships it sent out. All 2 of them. The rebels get their defenses ready by putting a metal 2x4 on a door. The Imperial troops all line up and they start shooting a big laser gun at the door. Oh God, will the metal bar hold? The rebels are trying to open up the roof, but it's not working. And then Leia steps up and says, I can fix it. Yep, apparently a 10-year-old girl knows about engineering, but it's Disney Star Wars, so what did you expect? Yeah, she goes through this little hatch into this room full of wires. Honestly, I think the average person would need a college degree to understand what's going on in this room. Like if she was the daughter of a mechanic or an engineer or something, I would be totally fine with this scene. And before someone says, oh, but she's really smart for her age. No matter how smart you are, if you're not researching what you're working on, you're not going to know what you're doing. The Imperial officer woman decides to tell Kenobi her sad, tragic backstory. You see, she was ordered by the Inquisitors to round up 14 people for not paying their taxes. She didn't know what the Inquisitors were gonna do, but then they slaughtered them all. Oh my God, she's almost as evil as the average IRS agent. And that's why she decided to be a spy for the rebellion. Now, this is not a terrible backstory, and it does make her sympathetic, but I do have one issue with it. She joined the military. She should have been well aware that she was going to kill a few people. And sure, maybe she didn't think they would have been killed for not paying their taxes, but the only other thing that would have happened to them is that they would have been arrested. Not as bad, but still pretty bad. Also, I still don't care about this character. The stormtroopers are still shooting at the door, but then one of them somehow receives a message from inside the base and tells Reva to go up to the door and talk to Obi-Wan Kenobi. They start communicating telepathically, and Reva tells Obi-Wan that stalling won't work. I don't know, bitch. If he is trying to stall you, it seems to be working. So far this episode hasn't really been all that bad. In fact, I would say it's just as good as episode 2. But now we get to the part where it really goes downhill. It's revealed that Reva knows that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader are one and the same. How does she know this? Well, she was one of the younglings he didn't manage to kill. Wait, what? How does that work? Yeah, I guess she was aware that Anakin turned to the dark side, but that doesn't mean she would figure out that he's Darth Vader. Like, don't get me wrong, it is an educated guess, but out of the tens of thousands of Jedis, she knew it had to be Anakin who turned into Darth Vader. She never thought he was a random Sith who was hiding in the shadows and suddenly appeared. But how did she survive Order 66? Well, Anakin stabbed her with a lightsaber and she played dead. Yes, everyone, this is the start of when lightsabers stop being such dead deadly weapons in Star Wars. Sure, Darth Maul survived being cut in half, but he's not human. Plus, that lightsaber was inside of him for less than a second. We've seen lightsabers melt metal multiple times. Look at what it did to the door in episode 1. Yeah, I don't think I need to tell you that being impaled by a lightsaber isn't really good for your health. In fact, I think it would turn your blood into steam. It's not just a regular sword, it's a stick of plasma. So yes, Qui-Gon, despite being a Master Jedi, died from being impaled by a lightsaber. But she survived because she has 2 X chromosomes. So you know how we just got the backstory for the officer lady? Well, just like her, Reva's also pretending to just work for the Empire. Her goal in life is to kill Darth Vader. What? Wow, I didn't see that coming. Oh no, wait, I did, because in modern movies and TV shows, women can never be evil. She was never given orders to slice off that old woman's hand. She just did it because, well, she's actually trying to kill Darth Vader. This bitch was so crazy evil, the other Inquisitors were telling her to chill. Yo, dire gentlemen, by the off chance you're watching this, I think my female villains video is aging like a fine wine. Yeah, it's clear she was originally intended to be evil until the script writers realized, oh shit, we need to change this. But they forgot about that part where she sliced off the old woman's hand for no reason. Oh, and the reason given as to why she was so desperate to hunt down Obi-Wan is because she blames him for how Anakin turned out. Yep, that's seriously the reason given. I'm not joking. Oh, you thought she was hunting him down to ask him for help? No, of course not. She's a woman, he's a man. And that goes against modern Hollywood's rules. She tells Obi-Wan Kenobi that she's a strong, independent woman. Then she slashes through the door with her lightsaber. And not only that, she also slices the metal bar they put on it. I don't know what's more stupid, the fact that she didn't do this immediately instead of using that stupid big gun, or the fact that we were just told she survived being stabbed by a lightsaber, and now they're showing us just how devastating one is. The battle is on. Obi-Wan is standing in front of the rebels, blocking blaster bolts with his lightsaber, while Reva stands in the middle of the stormtroopers, not blocking anything. The stormtroopers also get close to Obi-Wan so he can slash them with his lightsaber. Okay. You know, there have been a lot of memes about stormtroopers being bad at aiming, but this is on a whole new level. There's so many of them, and the rebels are so close. How do they only manage to hit barely any of them? The rebels are being overwhelmed, so they start retreating. Reva starts heading towards the front while pushing stormtroopers along her way. Wow, what a bitch. An old woman gets shot and Obi-Wan is like, no! Someone with 2 X chromosomes got hit! The officer lady, despite having a gun, decides to push a stormtrooper to the ground. The robot guy is shooting stormtroopers. Some of them walk past him and then another one just grabs his gun. And of course, the robot, who is a lot stronger, just tosses him away. But then finally, the stormtroopers start hitting people. They shoot the officer lady, the robot, but they are still dumb enough to walk up to Obi-Wan so he can hit them with a lightsaber. The officer lady takes out a grenade and blows herself up, taking a whole bunch of stormtroopers with her. Wow, that's a really big explosion. I wonder why she didn't use it when they were all at the door. You know you can throw grenades, right? You know what? I take back what I said in my review of the 3rd episode, because this is now the worst choreographed fight scene I've seen in all of Star Wars so far. We cut back to the flashback of Obi-Wan and Anakin sparring. Obi-Wan gives his lightsaber to the fake Jedi. Wow, I'm so glad this character is here. And then he walks outside and surrenders. Look at this image. He's on his knees, handcuffed. She's standing up. The gun in the background looks like it's pointing right at his head. Are the filmmakers trying to tell us something? I just can't figure out what it is. The stormtroopers take Obi-Wan and walk him back into the enemy base? What are these guys doing? Oh look, Obi-Wan just got away. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to bring him into the enemy's base. Leia's toy droid that has been turned evil tries to attack her. It doesn't use any of its weapons. It just flies at her. She grabs it, pulls it apart, and takes out the tracker. At this point, I should be like, oh my god, that's so stupid, blah blah blah, but I kind of gone numb to it at this point. There's just so many stupid things happening one after another that I just don't feel anything anymore. Leia fixes the doors so now they can open. The fake Jedi guy, because he's an incompetent male, drops the communication device that Obi-Wan gave him. The ship takes off and oh my god, Darth Vader just stopped it with the Force. Wow, this is the strongest we have ever seen the Force in any of the live action stuff. He's on the same level as the Jedis from the Samurai Jack cartoon. Okay, I guess that's 1 minus Mary Sue point for Rey. Hello everybody, Editing Jar here. As I was looking through this video, I realized something. Luke Skywalker defeated Darth Vader. Kylo beat Luke.
That was your plan, Ben? To bring down the roof on our heads? Now we're both trapped in here, moron.
And Rey is about even to Kylo. So no, this is actually a +1 Mary Sue point for Rey. Let's just hope we don't have a repeat of episode 3 where the ship tries to take off again and Darth Vader doesn't stop it for whatever reason. Vader starts ripping the ship apart with the Force, but then there was a second ship behind it and it takes off and Darth Vader doesn't try to stop it. Oh my god, I was just making a joke! He seriously again just forgot he had a Force power he just used? We cut back again to the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan calls Anakin a scrub or something. I actually had to take a break and walk away from recording this. I am just blown away by the incompetency of modern day writers. Tommy Wiseau could write better than this. Derek Savage could write better than this. Hollywood writers, do you want to know why AI is taking your jobs? This is why. Anyways, let's get back to the review. Reva, after like a decade of planning, after killing several people and doing a whole bunch of other horrible things, all in an attempt to get close to Darth Vader so she can kill him, she decides to walk right up to him while he's surrounded by stormtroopers and attempts to stab him in the back. She doesn't try to poison him or stab him while he's in his healing tank, which we have seen in an earlier episode. She doesn't try to attack him while he's in the middle of combat, nor does she even work with another Jedi like, oh, I don't know, Obi-Wan Kenobi to try and kill him. She just walks right up to him and of course gets her ass kicked. He's not even using a lightsaber, he's just blocking her strike with the Force, and now he's just dancing around her, dodging her strikes. Reva may be a woman in modern day Star Wars, but that doesn't make her a Mary Sue because, well, she's a POC. She even takes out her second lightsaber blade and starts spinning it at him. By the way, I know a lot of people don't like how the Inquisitor's lightsabers work, but I think it's a really smart design. It's a double-bladed lightsaber that spins. Yeah, when they fly with it, it's pretty goofy. But it's the most advanced we've ever seen a lightsaber, and it seems like a practical design to me. It's absolutely perfect for lightsaber throw. It would be like the Kienzan from Dragon Ball Z, or the wind-style Rasen Shuriken from Naruto. Vader takes the lightsaber from her, splits it into two, we get a really bad choreographed lightsaber fight. Vader throws his lightsaber at her, she deflects it, goes for the killing blow, and this time, for once, Darth Vader didn't forget about a Force ability he already used. Like, on the one hand, I want to say she's stupid for trying an attack that she already knows won't work, but on the other hand, she saw him forget about his Force abilities twice already, so I guess she thought he would forget again. Vader stabs her through the stomach, which he did to her already when she was a kid, so of course she'll survive again. He also reveals that he knew who she was all along, and this was all part of his Grandmaster plan. Bro, what if she actually teamed up with Obi-Wan Kenobi? You would have gotten your shit rocked. Oh, and the Grand Inquisitor is still alive, because of course he is. He was only stabbed by a lightsaber. Yeah, apparently Darth Vader used her to track down Obi-Wan Kenobi, even though the other Inquisitors told her to stop looking for him so much. She only found him because she crazily kidnapped a princess, and so many other super convenient things happened for this plan to even begin to work. You know that channel, Terrible Writing Advice? The guy who sarcastically gives you bad writing advice and pretends it's good writing advice? I won't lie, it's a pretty good joke. Well, I think the writer saw his episode on villains saying all according to plan and actually took it literally. She tried to kill the Grand Inquisitor and almost did. What if she sliced off his head instead? Or what if lightsabers were still the killing weapons they used to be? This plan is stupid, it makes no sense, and it's obviously a last-minute change. He also seems disgustingly chill with her trying to kill him. They don't even kill her even though now she's completely useless to them. They just walk away. They're like Saturday morning cartoon villains from the 80s and 90s. Reva finds the communication device that the fake Jedi dropped, and here's the message about Tatooine and Luke. Is this also part of Darth Vader's master plan? Did he know that if he stabbed her and didn't fully kill her, that she would stumble around and find this device, giving him the information later? Well, knowing these These writers? Probably. So now that I finished episode 5, all I gotta say is, it's not my favorite episode. Now, it's not as bad as episode 4, but it's a close second. At least we only have one more episode. Episode 6, the finale. Okay, so far, Obi-Wan Kenobi has been an absolutely terrible show. Maybe the finale will be the worst episode yet, or maybe it will suddenly fix all the problems I've had with it so far. Let's find out. It starts with Reva on Tatooine. She smacks the water out of Kenobi's boss's hand. Why did she do this? Well, it's because there was a cue for the water line, and he cut to the front of it. Well, this scene establishes nothing, it will lead to nothing, and it was only in this show to, I don't know, pad out the runtime. We cut to the rebels running away from a Star Destroyer, and the Star Destroyer's aim is, well, just as bad as the Stormtroopers. I guess they are the ones manning the cannon, so it makes sense. And I want to make it clear, this is a transport vehicle. It's not firing back at them. Darth Vader tells his men to increase firepower. By that, I hope he means they should increase the rate they're firing at and not how strong the shots are, because they haven't hit anything yet. Stronger bullets aren't more accurate. Also, doesn't that Star Destroyer have a few fighters on board? Shouldn't they send those out after the transport vehicle as well? Also, why aren't they in hyperspace? They're just flying slowly. This is not how the Star Wars universe works. Oh wait, this guy just came in saying they're trying to get the hyperdrive up and running, but he also says that they will probably run out of time before they fully fix it. Seems like a pretty bad idea to run away in the ship that has the broken hyperdrive. Maybe you should have used this one as the decoy and took the other one. Obi-Wan realizes that he's the one that Darth Vader wants. Also, the writers remembered that Force users can sense other Force users. Yeah, remember when that power was forgotten about 2 episodes ago? So Obi-Wan is going to get into an escape pod so he can be used as a decoy. Now, there are a few problems with this plan. Number 1, the Star Destroyer could shoot his escape pod down, and number 2, they could send a fighter after him. But for some reason, the Empire decides not to use either of those, so I guess he's safe. He tells Leia that she's annoying, so he's gonna leave her. And then he tells the fake Jedi criminal guy that because he barely knows him, he's gonna trust him with Leia's safety. I'm not joking, he literally tells the guy that he can trust him because he's a criminal. Back on Tatooine, Uncle Owen hears that an Inquisitor is coming for him and his family. He runs home and tells his wife, "A Dark Jedi is coming for us, we need to GTFO." Now Owen is being smart. He knows that they can't fight something that powerful and it's a big planet. They just need to take a lot of water and some food and they can survive a few days. But then Beru, yes, that is the name of Luke's aunt, says that they have nowhere to hide and they need to stand and fight. Okay, 1, you have basically everywhere to hide. 2, you stand no chance against an Inquisitor. And 3, oh my god, even Aunt Beru is made into a strong, independent woman. Owen tries to meet her halfway, saying if we're going to stay and fight, well, we're going to need help. And she just says, "I don't want to put anyone else in danger." By staying here, you're putting basically everyone else in danger. Luke is the last hope for the galaxy. What are you doing? She uncovers a hole in the wall and pulls out 2 rifles from it. Owen seems surprised that she has these, and I don't understand why. They live on a planet with Tusken Raiders. They're going to need rifles to defend themselves. Obi-Wan gives Leia a blaster holster. Oh my god, we finally know the origin of where it came from. Wow, did anybody care about that? It's like Solo all over again. Hey, do you want to know the origin of how Solo got his gun? No, not really. Haha, some random guy gave it to him. Okay, Obi-Wan is about to leave. He certainly has taken his precious time. I mean, it's not like there's a big ship shooting at them or anything. Oh wait, there is. The captain tells him that he doesn't have to do this. Wait, bro, you were the one who told him you guys don't have enough time to fix the hyperdrive. And now he's telling Obi-Wan that they have enough time to fix the drive. Why do these writers not know what they're doing? Vader sees Obi-Wan leaving and decides that they're going to chase after him instead, even though he let Kenobi get away twice already. The Star Destroyer is shooting at Obi-Wan's ship. It can't hit it at all, even though I'm pretty sure one blaster shot would take it out. Kenobi lands on the nearest planet. The Star Destroyer does not try to blow it up from orbit. And Darth Vader, despite having the Grand Inquisitor with him and a whole bunch of troopers, decides that he's going to face Kenobi alone. Once again, this plot only works because every single character is a colossal idiot. Darth Vader flies down in a transport ship. Wow, it's amazing that that was in the hangar, but no fighters. He lands on the dark and gray planet. He walks right up to Obi-Wan and says, "Have you come to destroy me?" Darth? You came to him, not the other way around. They start fighting, but they're using their lightsabers more like swords. Now, I know that might sound a little confusing, but let me explain. Obviously, the harder you swing a sword, the more damage it will do. However, if you miss one of these strong attacks, you'll be running the risk of leaving yourself open to a counterattack. attack. But a lightsaber is not just a sword, it's a stick of plasma. So big, super strong, powerful swings won't increase the damage of your attack. Like, the fight is not terrible, but it's not really that good either. Reva enters the Skywalker's home. They do not set any traps for her, but they do have their guns ready. Uncle Owen lines up his shot and misses. Of course he would miss, he's a man. Then Beru starts shooting and she is also missing. Okay, never mind, they both just suck. It looks like Owen was right, they should have hid because they clearly don't know how to fight. Owen starts throwing potted plants and boxes at her. Yeah, that will definitely work. We cut back to the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and I won't lie, the way they use the Force in this fight is pretty badass. Vader splits the ground apart with the Force, and then starts piling rocks on top of Obi-Wan, who's stuck in the hole. We cut back to Owen, who's fighting against Reva with a metal bar. Wow, he's actually doing a really good job against her. He hits her lightsaber wound and she starts screaming in agony. Oh, that's why they stand a chance against her. It's because she's severely weakened. So if she wasn't, Beru would have gotten both of them killed. Reva bitch slaps Owen, sending him to the ground. Then she uses the Force to push him off the bridge. I don't know why she didn't do that earlier, but okay. Owen shouts at his wife that she's coming, completely giving away her position. And then Luke starts to book it while Reva chases after him. He clearly sees her lightsaber, but when Obi-Wan Kenobi shows him his old father's lightsaber, he'll act like he's never seen one before. Obi-Wan is using the Force to hold back the pile of rubble, but he's starting to give in to the pressure. But then he thinks about Leia and Luke for a brief second. This causes Kenobi to go Super Saiyan. He bursts through the rubble and continues his fight with Darth Vader, and wow, the action's actually a lot better this time. Vader blocks the lightsaber strike with the Force, but then Obi-Wan Kenobi pushes him back and starts lifting a whole bunch of boulders behind him. And then he starts firing them all at Darth Vader. Holy shit, this is awesome! Darth Vader uses the Force to create a bubble shield around him, blocking some of the boulders, and then he flies forward and continues to attack Obi-Wan with his lightsaber. I won't lie, this is awesome! Obi-Wan is kicking Darth Vader's ass! Oh, he just sliced off a part of his helmet! Then we hear the voice of both Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader at the same time. Oh, this is so cool. Like, I won't lie, the dialogue in this scene is absolutely cheesy, but Star Wars has always kind of been cheesy. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this show is starting to rub off on me. So how does the fight between both of them end? Well, Obi-Wan just walks away and leaves him alive. I'm not joking. Yep, the show is back to being trash. Obi-Wan Kenobi has the chance to kill one of the biggest threats in the galaxy. By choosing to let this guy live, so many people will be killed, including Kenobi himself. He will be partially responsible for all the bloodshed that's going to happen.
But at least this scene fills up the plot hole when Kenobi told Luke that his father was killed by Darth Vader because Darth Vader said it himself.
So once again, in Disney's attempt to fill up a plot hole, they created an even bigger plot hole. You know what? Just for this scene alone, in my opinion, this is the absolute worst episode of this show. Up until now, no scene in this entire show has destroyed Obi-Wan as a character. Until now. As a ghost, he's gonna have to tell Luke Skywalker, Luke, I'm sorry about your hand. I actually had the chance to kill Darth Vader myself, but I chose to let him live. Ben, why? Well, to be perfectly honest, the writers just didn't know what they were doing. Anyways, we cut back to Reva, who's searching for Luke. She can't find him in the dark until he knocks over a rock. I guess the writers forgot once again that Force users can sense other Force users. Oh, never mind, Obi-Wan can suddenly sense that Luke is in danger. I'm not joking, the writers forgot Force users can sense other Force users, and then re-remembered it 5 seconds later. So Reva can't sense Luke when he's right next to her, but Obi-Wan can from like across the galaxy? Reva knocks out Luke with the Force. She pulls out her lightsaber, ready to kill him. After spending her whole life trying to get revenge on Darth Vader, she's about to take away his only son that he doesn't know the existence of, but at this point it's the only way for her to take revenge on him. He took away people precious to her, and now she'll do the same to him. She just hopes he eventually learns about his existence. But then she sees herself in Luke. Oh my god, Luke is a black woman. It's what Disney always wanted. And decides that she can't go through with it. Oh, she had a change of heart. Which doesn't make up for her slicing that old woman's hand off all the people she killed, almost going through with torturing a child, and a whole bunch of other terrible things that we didn't see on screen. She's probably killed several children already, but once she has the chance to kill a child that will actually hurt the guy she's trying to get revenge on, she doesn't go through with it. Fuck me, this show is terrible. The writers know they can't kill off Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, but they still write themselves into a corner. Obi-Wan arrives on Tatooine. Reva comes back with Luke in her arms, and because she did one good thing, actually it's not even one good thing, she just decided not to do something evil, she's fully redeemed because in modern movies and shows, women can never be evil. Reva takes out her lightsaber and throws it on the ground. Obi-Wan says that now she's free. Bro, the Empire might try to hunt her down. She just gave up the one thing she had to defend herself aside from the Force. And once again, that's like the best lightsaber ever. Actually, Kenobi, give Luke this one instead of his father's old lightsaber. It's way better. If Reva really wanted to redeem herself, she should have stayed with Obi-Wan Kenobi and watched over Luke with him. We cut to Darth Vader, who's having a chat with Emperor Palpatine, and Emperor Palpatine implies that because Darth Vader had feelings for his old master, that he was weakened? Oh great, it's the Kylo Ren versus Rey argument again. He had conflicting emotions, so he was weakened. I think Darth Vader was pretty pissed off at Obi-Wan for cutting him in half and burning him. He buried the guy under rubble. He clearly wanted to kill him. Is this really the explanation for Darth Vader constantly forgetting the Force powers he just used? Because I don't buy it. Leia, who's back home with her parents, dresses like she will when she's an adult. Because of course she does. Disney just can't stop milking that nostalgia. And Leia, despite being kidnapped after she disobeyed her parents, goes up to her father and says, if I'm going to be royalty, there's going to be a few changes around here. And her dad tells her we'll change stuff together. Leia's parents are more spineless than Caillou's parents. And that's saying something. Your 10-year-old disobeyed you multiple times, and because you didn't discipline her, she got kidnapped. And now that she's finally home, she thinks she can make demands and you're giving in to them? What is wrong with you people? Obi-Wan lands on the planet, gives Leia back her toy, and her dad tells him, we can't repay you. Bitch, you're a king, give him some money. Kenobi then tells Leia just how amazing and perfect she is, because of course he does. The writers attempt to cover up the gaping plot hole that this entire series has made by making Obi-Wan tell Leia,
if you ever need help from a tired old man, you know where to find me, but please pretend like you don't know me, because if you do, it will be a violation of my court order.
How is a 10-year-old girl gonna remember this? And also, when she sent that message to you, she was about to be captured by the Empire. You both were already in big trouble. Kenobi returns to Tatooine and tells Owen, hey, your son just needs to be a kid. The future will work itself out. Bye. Then Owen says, wait, Kenobi, before you leave, would you like to meet the boy? Luke runs up to Obi-Wan. They meet for the first time, and then Obi-Wan says, hello there. This show is so bad. At least it's finally over. Obi-Wan is riding off into the sunset and, wait, it's still going? Oh my god, it's not over. What's next? Qui-Gon's ghost shows up. The hello there scene wasn't enough to milk our nostalgia. You have to do it even more? You were a ghost this whole time? You could have warned the Jedis about Palpatine? Okay, now the show finally ends. My God, this was painful. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Sorry that I had to split my review of all the Disney Star Wars TV shows into 2 videos. The sponsor wanted the video to be out early October, so that's why I had to split it into 2 videos. I know I said in my last video that my rewrite of the Star Wars sequel trilogy would be next, but my editor for that video said he needed more time, and I'm still waiting on some lines from a few people. By the way, I'm also still looking for a voice actor for Finn. If any of you are up for it and can do a good impression of the guy, hit me up. Next time I will be reviewing Andor, Mandalorian Season 3, and of course, the new Ahsoka show. Something tells me that part 2 will be even longer than this video. It amazes me how well the live-action TV shows started off. Mandalorian was mostly good, but it was slow at times and it had a few slip-ups. Like, don't get me wrong, it was no Better Call Saul, the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, or the first season of Heroes. But compared to the trash fire that was the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the worst heist movie ever Solo, and the snore fest known as Rogue One, it was an absolutely amazing show. After season 2 ended, they played it safe by making another show about a more well-known, but not super popular character, Boba Fett. But it's clear that they just took unused scripts from The Mandalorian without much thought on how they would fit into the story. Boba Fett is inconsistent from how he used to be, and the story is just so bland. The story definitely had a handful of problems, even more than Mandalorian Season 1 1 and 2 combined. But I kept watching because I thought that the shows would keep getting better from here on. I mean, after all, Disney should have learned their lesson after making all of those horrible movies. At least that's what I thought. But Kenobi was worse than I ever imagined it could be. It was worse than She-Hulk and Witcher Blood Origin. In other words, it was the worst show I ever viewed yet, but not by much. Every time I think I have reviewed the worst show ever, somehow another one outdoes it. And I've heard that Mandalorian Season 3 and Ahsoka are even worse, so look forward to my suffering in the next video. Everyone is cartoonishly stupid, and the plot feels like a parody version of itself. Sure, there's more badass stuff in this show than in She-Hulk, but the amount of bad it has cancels it out, and then some. I think once I'm done with reviewing all the Disney Star Wars movies and shows, I'll be making one big long video with all of them put together, with some new stuff added in, and a few small mistakes being fixed as well. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me for this long, and if you can find it in your heart to give me money on Patreon, I would be super grateful. I could make more videos even faster, but I'll need more money to pay more editors in order to do that. Anyways, I'm gonna get started on my next Star Wars video. But before that video comes out, I'm gonna make a short video for Halloween about why a zombie apocalypse wouldn't work. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's a video I wanted to make for a very long time, and I'm starting to get burnt out from Star Wars. I just need a break. Oh yeah, my $5 a month patron Bloody Eclipse wanted me to say, "Honey, Jar is here!" Okay, now let's get to the credits.